300 years after the cataclysm, magic spiraled out of control. The demonic race descended and fought a centuries-long war against humanity. After that, the population plummeted and everything fell into chaos. Finally, 10 awakened individuals with absurd magic created gigantic barriers. These barriers held back the demon invasion, allowing humanity to survive in safety. In this way, humanity entered the era of universal awakening, where every person awakens a profession upon reaching adulthood. The professions of the original 10 powerful individuals became inherited professions. Each one can only exist in one person at a time, and they are the pillars of humanity. In the city of Feichuan, in the year 335 of the Cataclysm era, on the 1st of April, the profession awakening ceremony was about to begin. A guy was arriving at the place and thanking his uncle for the ride. Looking around, the guy realized that the annual awakening test truly lived up to its reputation because it was packed. He also kept in mind that the rarer the profession, the stronger the combat power, and that anyone who obtains a powerful profession can go straight into the elite academies. Next, he knew that the youths going to the awakening prayed to the holders of the inherited professions, hoping to awaken something good. Then, as he approached the entrance a little more, he became intrigued by what some people were doing. So the MC decided to ask a guy if he knew what those people were doing. The guy said that rumors were spreading that year's test would reveal a holder of an inherited profession, and that there are currently 4 inherited professions vacant. So of course people are praying with all their might. The MC becomes intrigued upon hearing that and thinks that, apparently, everyone's desire to rise in life is intense that year. At that moment, a flare is launched into the sky, announcing that the test has just begun. People soon begin discovering their professions and ranks. Then, Gefei is informed that he is Class S, is at level 34, and has 55 magic power, and because of that, he was accepted. A guy comments that he wishes he had the magic power that Gefei has. Then someone arrives offering a tomato that can give his magic power a boost. The guy becomes intrigued, wanting to know if just one tomato really increases magic power. The MC replies that it does, and says that he is a spiritual plant specialist, and what he has in his hand is a premium variety that he cultivated with great care, and that each tomato increases a person's magic power by 5% for 5 minutes. Next, he says that he also has satiety sweet potatoes that eliminate hunger for an entire day, cucumbers that burn fat, and pumped beans that increase attack by 10%. The people, upon hearing the MC selling such products, immediately want to buy them because they need some way to pass the test. The MC emphasizes that whoever arrives first gets them, since he only has a limited quantity. A somewhat suspicious guy takes a tomato and, as soon as he bites into it, becomes excited, saying that his magic power really increased and that his body even feels lighter. At that moment, a man in a suit appears asking if what he is seeing is the spiritual vegetable developed by the agricultural departments of the Extraordinary Academy, because he heard that it is specially supplied for high-rank classes. The MC comments that it is a special promotion for the test convention, and that everyone there has the potential to become a student of the academy. The blonde quickly asks the MC to wrap all of them for him, which makes the rest of the people around nervous since they arrive first. The MC has in mind that even though his profession is only farmer, for some reason, ever since he reached the maximum level, all the vegetables and fruits he plants give very good buffs, and that even though he used some marketing tactics, the effects of his products are real. Later, in front of a certain shop, someone approaches the MC and begins to say that chestnut pumpkin seeds cost 5 gold coins, flour rhinoceros fertilizer, 7 coins, sugar for grape wine, 10 gold coins, and several potions that increase magic power, 257 coins. The MC takes 10 gold coins as payment and hands them to the guy, and says there was not enough money left to buy premium fertilizer to improve the fields. The blonde thanks Lin Feng and says that his spiritual plants help a lot, so he wants to know why he does not plant more. The MC slaps his friend on the face and asks if he really thinks cultivating plants with those effects is that easy. The blonde comments that it is a shame because he knew the MC had so much talent since childhood, but now he is just a farmer. Lin Feng says that it is fine, but asks his friend to hurry home because Aunt Zhou must be waiting for him. As soon as his friend leaves, the MC starts thinking about what he said. that he was called a genius since he was little, but ended up awakening only the profession of N-class farmer, and that when he went to burn offerings for his father, the late archdruid, he was afraid his father would jump out of the coffin out of embarrassment. However, he thinks that maybe this is a balance of fate, since a herbalist mother and an archdruid father ended up producing a farmer. But if he really thinks about it, he knows he is very satisfied with his current peaceful life, since he does not have to go to the battlefield and be eliminated like his father, nor make his mother worry. However, he keeps in mind that even if it is only for his mother, he needs to take proper care of his family farm. Then a drop of water falls on the tip of the MC's nose. He immediately wonders what is going on, because there is no way it should be raining on a clear day, and as soon as he looks up, he sees a guy coming straight toward him. When he dodges, the guy crashes hard onto the ground. Lin Feng questions what is happening and wonders if the demons have invaded. The guy who fell on the ground quickly stands up and starts picking up his things from the floor. And while he arranges them, someone shouts that the holder of the inherited profession, the necromancer, He Xiao, is a traitor and that he is trying to pass his inheritance to the demonic race. The guy does not notice a huge hand coming toward him. Lin Feng becomes frightened, wanting to know what the hell is going on, and he knows that passing an inherited profession to the demonic race is something impossible. At that moment, a rift opens and a creature appears saying that it saw everything, and that instead of running, the guy was heading straight toward his own elimination. The creature also comments that if it had not been injured by forbidden magic, it thinks it would have already left the city, but that once it passes his profession to the demonic race, it will have an immortal body. But since it was trapped for too long, it thinks the academy has probably already noticed. When it looks to the side, it sees the MC trying to sneak away, who in turn thinks that apparently he accidentally stumbled into a crime scene. The creature asks where the MC thinks he is going, and grabbing him by the neck, says that the guy the MC saw earlier was the famous rector Yue Ye of the Extraordinary Academy, and that he was eliminated in such a miserable way. But it wonders why it should not use the MC's blood and bones as an offering to celebrate. Lin Feng thinks that the creature's magic power is bizarre, because he cannot break free at all, but he knows he needs to stay calm to think quickly and use something that can help him escape from the creature. Then, he sees a small pickaxe, so he activates his maximum mastery in farm tools, a skill derived from summoning farm tools. Next, he grabs the pickaxe and strikes the creature's arm with it. The creature, in turn, is surprised, thinking that what just happened is impossible, because the boy is clearly only of the farmer profession, so it wants to know how he managed to injure it. The MC manages to escape and quickly grabs another tool left behind by the academy rector. Therefore, Lin Feng activates it, and a power rushes toward the creature. An explosion happens, and as the dust begins to settle, the creature is injured. At that moment, two more rifts appear in the sky, and the creature thinks it is the marking formation of the Matrix Dancer. Then it concludes that in that case, it will simply possess the MC's body and disappear from there. The creature rushes straight toward Lin Feng with the intention of possessing his body. The MC begins to scream while his body is being possessed. After possessing him, the creature reflects that even though the MC has the lowest profession, his talent is still quite decent, and that he should consider himself lucky to become its vessel. Lin Feng comments that at least he has trained since childhood without taking a single day off, and that if the creature wants to take his body, he fears it will have to work a little for it. The creature asks what is so special about that, because an inferior is always an inferior, and that the boy does not know it, but its power is at a level he will never reach. Lin Feng crouches down and thinks that apparently luck is not on his side this time, and as he grabs a spear, he makes it clear to the creature that they will simply go to hell together. With that said, he drives the spear into his own stomach, and the creature asks what the hell he is doing. Lin Feng makes it clear that even if they die together, he will not give his body. Then, as he begins to lose consciousness, he thinks about his father, and that he really did not want to go see him and get scolded. And as soon as he faints, a strong golden light appears in his chest. The creature becomes frightened, wanting to know what this bizarre light is and how the boy's magic power is growing. The light becomes even stronger and then begins to bind the creature that possessed the MC. In a matter of seconds, the creature is completely sealed. After that, a huge explosion happens, and a few minutes later, a system screen appears congratulating Lin Feng and informing him that he has acquired a new talent from the inherited profession, that of necromancer. Because of that, he wakes up startled, wanting to know how he is still alive, and as he moves his whole body, he realizes he can still control it, but wonders if the creature failed to possess him. Then a system screen appears in front of him. Lin Feng begins to observe his stats and sees that his profession is still Farmer Master, that he is at level 1 and has 300 points in the Strength attribute, 300 in Constitution, 100 in Agility, 110 in Magic Power, 110 points in the Spirit attribute, and 300 in Luck. His skills are fast land clearing, efficient planting, quick harvesting, increased yield, mastery of farm tools, a passive with maximum affinity with the undead, transcendent growth, undead summoning, and another passive of soul extraction. Then the MC is surprised to see that his level has returned to 1 again, but wants to know how all his maxed farmer attributes were maintained. He also wonders if his magic power has increased even more with the soul strength of the creature that tried to possess him, since he thinks this means that when he levels up again, his attributes may surpass the limits. In addition, he also has a new ability to summon undead, but hopes it is not the same summon as that guy from before. Then he decides to test his new power, but first channels a bit of his own power, and then the one he gained. He is surprised, since apparently the farmer's magic power is merging with the undead's magic power. Lin Feng begins to focus, and soon visualizes his profession tree, realizing that it is branched out. So he wonders if this is not a class change and whether he has gained an extra profession, until he is shocked to see that the extra profession he obtained is necromancer, a legendary inherited profession. The MC looks at the creature's body lying beside him, and an energy begins to act on his profession tree. Thus, he begins to feel that the power he obtained is still not his, and fears that if he does not tame it soon and fully turn it into his own power, not only will his farmer profession collapse and disappear, but his consciousness will also be devoured by the creature again. In addition, the yellow-colored power also seems like a contamination, so he decides to test his undead summoning ability, and the power begins to move toward the creature that tried to possess him earlier and the Academy's rector. Lin Feng manages to summon 2 undead and thinks that even with the levels reset, all the abilities are still there, and that they can level up again, but he knows that the inspection team is about to arrive and that, because of that, he needs to leave quickly. As he picks up his backpack, he reflects that no one will believe that an ordinary farmer eliminated 2 extraordinary individuals, but he thinks that if they discover his current situation, that might end up being his downfall. Thus, he concludes that his priority at the moment is to find a place that offers protection and high-level resources, a place where he can test the control of his new power and turn his father's theories into reality. One day later, at the MC's family farm, he is thinking that the crops catalyzed by his new power are all becoming somewhat strange, and, as he continues using his power on them, some bizarre things begin to form, until one of the plants creates a strange mouth and grabs a bird that was passing nearby. The MC is surprised, wanting to know what the hell is happening, because he thinks that if people see such things, they will think it is a demonic invasion. Thus, he decides that he needs to get rid of everything as quickly as possible, but wonders if this new magical power caused bizarre mutations in ordinary crops, since he considers that if he can control this power and guide it to cultivate the plants, he might be able to create those special varieties his father envisioned but never managed to plant, valuable crops that can upgrade professions. After a few hours, Lin Feng is watching a news report informing that the holder of the inherited necromancer profession, He Xiao, started a rebellion the day before, eliminating Rector Yue Ye, and that his crimes are heinous, and anyone with clues will be generously rewarded, but whoever dares to help him will be treated as an accomplice. Lin Feng thinks that this was already expected, and, because of that, he knows that he cannot let anyone find out about his necromancer power under any circumstances. Then he reflects that he needs to come up with a name for his servants so they can pass the inspection, otherwise it will cause problems. Until he gets an idea and thinks that he will just call them farm helpers, since his system panel says he is a spiritual farmer master, and that, with such a profession, he thinks it is perfectly normal to have some helpers. The news continues reporting that, to deal with the demonic pressure, the Extraordinary Academy will be opening more slots, and that everyone who passes the evaluation will receive Academy resources and the right to private properties to cultivate high-level crops, in addition to special subsidies. Lin Feng knows that the Academy's land is safe, fertile, and supported by resources, and that this is exactly what he needs most at the moment, since the necromancer identity is a ticking time bomb, but the spiritual farmer master identity, to others, is just that of a normal farmer. The very next day, at the Extraordinary Academy's registration square, it is the MC's turn, and those responsible for registration ask for name, age, awakened profession, and level. After Lin Feng provides the information, one of the staff becomes intrigued upon seeing Spiritual Farmer Master and comments that he has never heard of such a profession, saying it is just another non-combat class person trying to force their way in. But even so, asks the MC to show his profession aura. Lin Feng activates his farmer power, and the staff member, upon seeing it, comments that this is the trash aura of a farmer, as he thinks he is just wasting his time. The people behind the MC start laughing and saying that, apparently, the boy made up this profession himself, and that apparently, he even had the audacity to try to enroll in the academy. Lin Feng tells the instructor that his foundation is very solid and that he hopes to be given a chance. The instructor gets angry and shouts, asking how the boy can have a solid foundation being level 1 trash, then tells the guard to remove him immediately. The MC takes out a paper and says that the recruitment notice states that all professionals can take the test, and that if the instructor tries to refuse him, he can file a complaint. Then he takes out his phone and pretends to be talking to internal affairs, saying that there is an instructor there refusing to let him take the academy exam. The instructor quickly grabs the MC's phone, grabs his shirt, and shouts, asking if he really has the courage to report him, telling him to believe that he will make him regret such a thing, and also says that he does not believe that a level 1 farmer like him can pass the test. The people around are surprised and comment that even if the MC is a farmer, rejecting him is one thing, but what the instructor is doing is already a bit too much. The instructor gets even more nervous and shouts that anyone who does not want to take the test can get out. Later, everyone who registered goes to the exam site. The instructor tells Lin Feng that he can still give up if he wants. He simply walks to the exam location and thanks the instructor for showing the way. As soon as he enters, he goes to a more secluded place, and, after looking around to make sure no one is there, he takes out a jar and thinks that it is time to let the horned rabbits feel the terror of industrialized agriculture, since what he has there is his newest creation, carrot essence, which easily attracts even a level 20 fierce rabbit, and that the lower level rabbits will be easy. And as soon as he spreads it around the area, the scent of the essence begins to spread through the environment. It does not take long for a small rabbit to appear, but the MC quickly calls his summons, and, as soon as they defeat the small creature, the MC comments that waiting for rabbits will be too slow and that, because of that, he tells the summons to make sure no one sees them and to eliminate all horned rabbits that appear nearby. After saying that, he emphasizes that they should get as many as possible. Quickly, the summons go after the rabbits. He Xiao soon finds some creatures and eliminates them easily, just like Yue Ye, who with a simple attack manages to take down several horned rabbits. Lin Feng is amazed to see how his summons fight, and thinks that they are still powerful even as level 1, undead. After some time, the instructor rings the bell and shouts that time is up, and that the candidates must leave and hand over the rabbit horns they managed to collect. The participants begin to hand them in, and the instructor becomes irritated, since some did not get any horns. Others only got 2 or 3, so he fails many of them. Then it is Lin Feng's turn, and the instructor asks the boy to hand over what he got, but thinks he probably did not manage to get anything. The MC activates his power and releases all the horned rabbits he collected, and due to the quantity, the place becomes completely packed. The instructor cannot believe what he is seeing. Lin Feng laughs and says that he thinks he managed to get a total of 500 horned rabbits, but asks if the instructor wants to count them. He remains incredulous and shouts, saying that he thinks the boy cheated. until a man arrives asking the instructor to stop the nonsense he is doing and says that he thinks that if he were not there, his pet rabbits would have been exterminated by certain people without professional ethics. After that, the director tells the MC that he passed the preliminary test, and he, in turn, thanks the director for the fairness. Then the old man becomes surprised by something and tells the MC that he looks familiar. Lin Feng becomes worried and wonders if he has been discovered. The director asks what the MC's relationship is with Professor Lin Xiaye. Lin Feng breathes in relief and thinks that apparently the director did not discover the abilities of his hidden profession. So he says that Lin Xiaye is his father and asks if the director knew him. The director comments that the MC's father was his friend and that apparently the boy is planning to enroll in the school. So he asks if he is having any difficulties and if he wants him to arrange something for him. At that moment, a woman appears calling the director's attention and saying that everyone is watching. The director looks around and sees the participants whispering among themselves, then feels embarrassed and tells the MC that at the moment he has some matters to deal with, but that once he enrolls, he will show him the school properly. And as soon as the old man leaves, the MC starts wondering why he feels that the director is not trustworthy at all. The woman asks the students who passed the preliminary test to follow her and informs that those who did not pass should not be discouraged, since there will be more chances the next time. Meanwhile, in the investigation room of the Sun Wheel branch, a man is observing the gathered information and thinking that Rector Yue Ye and He Xiao disappeared at the same time, and he thinks that the rector must have discovered He Xiao's secret. Then he comments to the others in the meeting that the two ended up being eliminated together, but he believes that there is someone behind this who took He Xiao's inherited talent. Thus, he concludes that they only need to find who obtained the necromancer talent to uncover the truth. A man takes a deep breath and comments that they understand that Tuka is eager to prove himself, but thinks it is better for him to stop with these baseless theories. He gets angry, slams his hand on the table, and shouts that he knows that no one there believes him, but that they should wait, because he will find the evidence no matter what. A woman asks whether they should not try to restrain him. After all, he is one of the Duke's men. The man replies that Tuka has already gone too far, since the Sunwheel Academy only trains the elite, and that it is not a place for useless people to show off. At that moment, the director appears informing that the orders came from above, and that if they find He Xiao, they are to eliminate him without asking anything. The man asks what if He Xiao is already dead. The director replies that maybe he has already changed his appearance, and that anyone who uses necromancer abilities will be eliminated without exception. Later, at the Extraordinary Academy, in the re-evaluation mission room, the instructor appears and informs that all freshmen must clear the special level 5 dungeon of the Horned Beast Lair outside the city, and that the time limit will be 3 hours. The participants become afraid and comment that they are barely at level 4 and already have to face a level 5 dungeon, and that the time limit is quite short. The instructor comments that it is obvious they expect them to clear it on their own, since they can form teams, but that the group cannot exceed 5 people, and that, once they assemble the team, they must register with her to start the timer. While the participants become excited, running around to form teams, the MC keeps observing his system, until someone walks up to him and a girl says that she is from a magic class and is level 7, and that she saw the MC's initial test, and that eliminating several horned rabbits the way he did means that he is quite strong. So she asks if she can form a team with him. Lin Feng thinks that, being level 7, she could definitely clear the dungeon alone, and that, if he were only a farmer, he would accept the group immediately. But he knows he cannot expose his necromancer side under any circumstances, so he says he will have to refuse, as he prefers to go alone. She laughs and wishes him good luck clearing the dungeon. As soon as she leaves, Lin Feng goes to the instructor, and she immediately notices that he is alone and informs him that the dungeon's difficulty is not low. He replies that he knows, but still wants to try and asks for the mission scroll. While handing over the scroll, the instructor asks if he is after the Black Bear Gallbladder reward, since that prize helps a lot for someone low level like him, but that he needs to know if he can handle it. Lin Feng takes the scroll, laughs, and thanks her for the warning. Later, outside the Horned Beast Lair dungeon, as soon as the MC approaches the entrance, the supervisors ask where the rest of his group is. Lin Feng replies that he will go alone, One of the supervisors emphasizes that a level 5 dungeon is very dangerous for someone going solo and that, because of that, he thinks it is better for the boy to come back when he finds someone to go with. The MC takes the scroll and says that the rules allow solo entry. One of the supervisors is surprised and comments that the boy must be after the Black Bear Gallbladder solo bonus, while the other says that the MC seems brave, but that he should think about whether he has the ability. Lin Feng does not care about them at all, and soon passes through the portal. Inside the Horned Beast dungeon, as soon as he walks a bit through the place, Lin Feng soon comes across two creatures, and notices that one is level 3 and the other is level 4, but even so, they are nothing, since at the moment he is level 6. And as he summons his summons, he comments that he saw in the guide that there would be many monsters there, but judging by what he is seeing, it even seems exaggerated. However, he knows that this is still perfect to test his new summoning method. With that, he activates his undead summoning ability on the creatures he just defeated, and they soon become summons. Lin Feng wastes no time and orders his new summons to attack. And, while they advance, he thinks that undead in the form of monsters retain some characteristics from when they were alive, knows that they are very aggressive but dumb, since they only follow simple orders. In addition, the summons consume less mana, so he wonders whether, besides fighting, they could also be used to fetch water. After some time, it is the turn of the summons He Xiao and Yue Ye to go on the offensive. He Xiao grabs his weapon and eliminates several creatures easily. Yue Ye, on the other hand, focuses and activates his aquatic ability, which also eliminates several creatures at once. The MC, meanwhile, is thinking that human undead are more intelligent since they use abilities from when they were alive and fight better, and that in the future, he can leave weeding and fertilizing to them. At that moment, the lower summons return, and the system announces that Lin Feng has reached level 7. Thus, he gathers the lower summons and walks toward the boss room. Upon entering, he notices a huge bear completely bound by several chains. Lin Feng thinks that it is a perfect boss to test his full power. Then, he tells He Xiao to go in front, Yue Ye to stay at a distance casting curses, and the rest to stay on top, attacking the creature's joints and eyes. With that, his summons rush into the confrontation, while he stays eating some olives that restore his magic power. The huge bear tries to hit He Xiao, but the summon manages to dodge and soon prepares a counterattack. And as soon as he strikes, a huge explosion happens. After the dust settles, the system informs the MC that he has reached level 8. Lin Feng walks toward the drops left by the bear, but ends up seeing that the creature only dropped 10 bonus points in Constitution, which is less than the buffs from his super crops. However, a system notification appears informing that it will calculate the dungeon rewards, and that, because the MC has the professions of farmer and necromancer, corresponding rewards will be issued. Lin Feng becomes intrigued upon seeing that clearing the dungeon gave 2 sets of rewards, so he wonders if it is because of having dual professions. Then, he gets excited, thinking that if the dungeon gives double rewards, he believes that the plants he cultivates may also have room for some kind of adaptation. After leaving the dungeon, a group of participants asks if Lin Feng really managed to clear it alone. Others shout, saying they think that is impossible, since everyone knows what it is like inside the dungeon, and that the MC must have gone in just to show off and did not even go to the deepest part of the dungeon. Lin Feng does not care at all and goes straight to talk to the instructor. She takes the mission scroll and sees that he managed to complete it. The instructor is quite surprised and, looking at Lin Feng, wonders if he really managed to complete it alone. Then she says she will deliver the mission scroll to the administration office, but points out that soloing the dungeon was very risky on his part, because if a new student is eliminated in a dungeon right after classes begin, it causes a huge problem. Lin Feng says he understands and thanks her for the concern. The instructor says that the final interview will be in the academy's main hall, but that he can go rest first. As soon as the MC leaves, the instructor thinks that she hopes this serves as a lesson for him, because being reckless in that academy will not work. The MC goes to a forest area, and when he looks back, he sees some people following him. Then he immediately activates his necromancer power. One of the men following the MC comments that he managed to solo the dungeon, so he wants to know if they can handle him. His partner tells him to stay calm, and comments that even if he is strong, he is still below level 10, and that there is a limit to how much he can endure. Then they stop behind a tree and comment that they really need the drop of the magic bear gallbladder, since it increases resistance by 10 points. Then Lin Feng hears them calling him farmer and telling him to stop immediately. Thus, one of them, striking a ridiculous pose, asks if the MC really thinks that one person should keep so many rewards. The other agrees with his friend and emphasizes that the MC must have been very lucky in the dungeon, and that, because of that, he should hand over the bear gallbladder and the skill scroll right away. Lin Feng is stunned and says that there are dozens of candidates, so he wants to know why it had to be him that they would bother. The buck-toothed guy points his finger at the MC's face and asks if he is just pretending to be dumb. The three of them, at the same time, comment that solo clear rewards, like the magic bear gallbladder that increases resistance by 10, are elite items, and that, because of that, this kind of thing is not for a farmer like him. Lin Feng thinks about the buff granted by the magic bear gallbladder and about the watermelon, then cannot believe that they think this is a big deal, since he has in mind that every summer his watermelons give more than 10 points in the resistance attribute, and he does not even need a dungeon for that. Thus, he takes the bear gallbladder and asks if this is what they want. One of them quickly rushes forward to try to grab it, but an explosion happens and the place is filled with smoke. Then another explosion happens. The girl who wanted to form a group with the MC appears, asking what they are trying to do, since she knows that fighting is forbidden in the academy, but apparently they do not care about that. One of the guys calls her ailing and makes it clear for her not to interfere where she was not invited. She replies that she did not like what they are doing. With that said, while spinning her fire staff, she tells them to get lost, or she will report them to the instructor. The big guy laughs and emphasizes that she will only be able to report them if she manages to escape, and that, if she insists so much on protecting the farmer, they will take her down as well. With that, he calls his group, and they rush toward the MC and ailing. Lin Feng looks at the girl and thinks that since she is level 7, she should be strong and able to handle those guys on her own. However, she becomes serious and says that the guys coming at them fight dirty. Thus, she asks the MC if he wants to help, but soon becomes surprised when she sees that he is running away from the fight. Lin Feng throws the bear gallbladder, and Ailing catches it. He laughs, calls her a kind soul, and asks her to accept his gift. While Ailing prepares to fight, she shouts, asking if he was not there to help the MC. Later, in the temporary individual lounge, Lin Feng is wondering why the dungeon skill scroll does not work for him, until he gets an idea, activates his farmer and necromancer powers on the skill scroll, and soon the system informs that he has learned the special cultivation skill. Now, the MC can use magical power and special materials to strengthen undead summons, being able to increase their level, quality, or teach new abilities. Lin Feng gets excited, thinking that what he imagined worked, since he only needed to use the magic of both professions at the same time to activate the scroll. Thus, he calls his summons and says that he will test his new ability, and when he activates it, He Xiao becomes even stronger and advances to level 8, as does Yue Ye. The magical horned bear goes to level 9, and the lizard and the eagle rise to level 7. Lin Feng finds this surprising, but when he observes his summons more carefully, he thinks that the only downside is that he has not gained new land yet, since he does not want to risk his own fields to test new crops. But due to his fatigue, he ends up falling asleep. Later, as soon as he leaves the room, he runs into Ailing, and she comments about his bear gallbladder. He turns and says that he gave it to her. Ailing replies that no, that thing is his, and that it is quite valuable. He is stunned and wants to know why everyone treats such a rotten material as a treasure. Ailing becomes confused and asks if she heard correctly that he called the item rotten. After that, later, the MC goes deep into a forest, and, after looking around to see if there is no one, thinks that apparently there is no one there. Then he activates his necromancer power and thinks that he does not know what effect his new ability will have on the crops. And as soon as he applies power to them, he is shocked, since it seems there is no difference compared to before, until he is surprised as the plants transform into sinister creatures, so he wonders if these things can really move on their own. Meanwhile, Tuka is walking through the forest and thinking that the spiritual energy detector shows that he is close to the energy he is looking for, and that he knows his guess was right, since there is a necromancer aura very close. And as he passes by the MC, something catches his attention, so he turns around, taps Lin Feng on the shoulder, and asks, judging by his clothes, if the MC is a farmer. Lin Feng asks if some farmer provoked him. Tuka is stunned by the question, but continues asking if the MC saw any strange person appear around there. Lin Feng replies that actually, someone did appear. Tuka immediately asks where. The MC points at Tuka and says that the guy is right in front of him. Tuka becomes furious and says that he is one of the elites of the Sun Wheel Academy, the nephew of the Iron Lion Duke. Then he charges at the MC, asking how a mere farmer dares to be so rude to a duke's nephew, and that, because of that, he will eliminate him. Tuka transforms into a powerful lion and shouts that he will make the MC pay for his stupid words and actions. Lin Feng tries to protect himself from the energy burst of the transformation, but makes it clear to Tuka that the farmer he is despising can defeat him with one hand. He doesn't care at all and charges forward to attack. Lin Feng throws a few capsules ahead and thinks that he doesn't know why the aconite in his field gained a paralysis effect after being eroded by undead magic, because the last time he tried it, he became numb and lay down for a day, and that grinding such a thing into powder can be used as an anesthetic. As soon as Tuka inhales what the MC threw into the air, he immediately becomes dazed and asks what kind of trick he used and why he suddenly has no strength. Lin Feng, while covering his nose, replies that it is just ordinary aconite powder found in the fields. That said, he channels his farmer power and comments that this is his new ability as a farmer. Then he delivers a powerful right hook straight to the middle of the lion's jaw. After defeating him, the MC strips Tuka's clothes, leaves him tied to a tree, and comments that apparently he can't even defeat a simple farmer, so he wants to know how he dares to call himself elite, and because of that, he will leave him there to refresh his memory as a life lesson. Later, all participants are informed to gather in the auditorium for the interview with the instructor. Lin Feng hears the announcement and thinks he needs to go quickly. Outside the auditorium of the Extraordinary Academy, the MC hears people wondering if he was the one who cleared the level 5 dungeon alone, and they also say they heard that he only knows how to run away and live off a woman. Lin Feng also hears people saying that compared to Shi Yan and Bogu, he is far behind, and that he may even be strong compared to ordinary candidates. But that's all. At that moment, Ailing appears wanting to return the bare gallbladder to the MC once again. He asks her to keep it and makes it clear that such an item is completely useless to him. Then, while waiting to be called, the MC starts eating some slices of watermelon that increase his endurance by 2 more points. A few minutes later, inside the auditorium, the place of the interview with the instructor, the director informs that during the interview, while the instructors choose the students also choose the instructors, and that both will achieve success together. That said, he emphasizes that the student whose name is called must step forward immediately, then begins by calling Shi Yan. He quickly steps forward and says that he is a level 6 Earth Warrior, and upon transforming, says that this is his current ability, in which he can summon armor to fight. One of the teachers comments that he liked it very much, and that he is a level 44 Earth Berserker, then asks if the student wants him to be his instructor. Immediately, Shi Yan gets excited and shouts that he accepts. The director calls Ying Wu and informs that Lin Feng will be next. As soon as it is the MC's turn, he activates his power and says that he is a level 8 Spiritual Farmer Master class. The instructor from before is impressed, because she knows that reaching level 8 at the MC's age is something quite incredible, but her partner beside her tells her to look closely, because the boy is just a farmer. One of the instructors takes a deep breath and comments that the Extraordinary Academy is meant to cultivate talents for the front lines, not to cultivate common plants to be cannon fodder. The other instructor emphasizes that Lin Feng's preliminary exam was excellent. The director agrees and comments that since everyone disagrees, he wants to know why they don't conduct a combat ability assessment with the MC. At that moment, all the instructors agree with the idea. Therefore, the director asks if Lin Feng agrees, because the final goal is to go to the front lines to fight against the demonic clan, and that, if he does not have combat potential, going to the front lines is just a pointless sacrifice. The MC is intrigued by this idea of having to be tested in combat, as he has in mind that his current combat ability is not high, since he cannot fight using his necromancer abilities. Even so, he tells the director that he agrees to the test. It doesn't take long before they move to an open space in the auditorium. One of the instructors comments that the evaluation is quite simple, and that the MC just needs to withstand 5 minutes under his command to prove he has talent for combat. That said, he releases his monstrous power, causing several participants to fall to their knees, saying they cannot withstand such overwhelming force. Lin Feng manages to resist the pressure imposed by the instructor, who is surprised to see that the boy was not intimidated, and comments that, due to his persistence, he will have a very good opinion of him, and because of that, he should use all his abilities and attack with full force. Lin Feng thinks that the instructor's level 44 pressure is truly powerful, but that he can still endure it. Then, he calls for one of his summons to appear. As soon as the horned bear appears, the MC thinks it was a success, since he managed to envelop the summons with nature magic to mask the undead aura, and upon observing it more closely, the horned bear even ended up looking like a cabbage. The instructor, seeing the MC's summon, is impressed and comments that it is a rare mutant class with such rich natural magic. That said, he equips his dual daggers and tells the boy to come at him with everything. The horned bear charges forward, as does the instructor, and both collide their attacks, creating a strong shockwave throughout the area. But the instructor does not want to lose and goes on the offensive. The horned bear is attacked from all sides. The director observes the MC's summon and comments that it is indeed loyal, as he believes that if other summons had taken damage like this one is taking, they would have likely been dismissed long ago. Then the bear launches a counterattack, and the director is astonished, wondering if the instructor is holding back. Meanwhile, the MC thinks that in the end, his summons are just undead, since they do not feel pain or discomfort, and that the kind of injury the horned bear suffered only needs a bit of mana to heal. The instructor looks at the director and thinks that he originally wanted to show off in front of the students, but did not expect Lin Feng to have so much talent, and that it seems he will have to fight seriously. Therefore, he tells the MC that he will find a way to compensate him for the summon he is about to destroy, since he believes that common summoning classes require a certain cost to form a contract with a summoned creature, and once destroyed, it is eliminated and the contract ends. The instructor activates his Berserker Bloodlust ability and lands a powerful punch on the horned bear, completely eliminating the creature. Then the instructor starts laughing and comments that after having a summon destroyed by him, the MC must be feeling bad inside, but still thinks it would be better for him to cry, since he prefers students with genuine temperament. However, Lin Feng remains normal, as if nothing had happened. The instructor is surprised, wondering why the boy is not sad, or if perhaps the sadness is so great that it has overshadowed his emotions. At that moment, Lin Feng releases his farmer power and completely restrains the instructor, who starts shouting that the boy is fighting dirty. The director begins to walk forward and observes both of them using their powers. The instructor loses his composure and, by releasing more power, manages to break the restraints that held him. But soon the director interrupts the fight and says he has seen enough. Therefore, he calls the MC and says that he has proven his worth and is qualified to become a student of the Extraordinary Academy. However, he points out that the instructors of the Nature Department are currently rotating on the battlefield and, because of that, no one will be able to teach him at the moment. Lin Feng asks about his cultivation resources. The director replies that the academy will not reduce anyone's cultivation resources in any way, and that his resources will be provided normally according to the standard. Additionally, as a standout student in the exam, he can make a request to the academy. The MC thinks about the freedom and resources granted and concludes that this is simply paradise. However, he tells the director that he wants a piece of land. Completely astonished by the boy's request, the director asks if he doesn't want precious resources, high-level equipment, or high-quality items. Lin Feng replies that no, because his class is a spiritual farm master, so he asks how he can be a farm master without land. The director comments that, in a way, the boy is right and informs him that there is a deserted training land in the west of the city that has been idle for a long time, and that he can do whatever he wants with the land, and that if he has any more requests later, he should look for him. Lin Feng thanks the director and says that as soon as he has any questions, he will look for him. After that, later, in the director's office, someone is observing the MC's file and, upon seeing the boy's class, comments that Spiritual Farm Master is a very interesting class. Then the instructor enters the room saying that she has an urgent matter to report. The director asks what it is about. She hands over an image, and while the director observes Tuka's completely defeated body, the instructor explains that the investigation member who was investigating He Xiao was completely eliminated by a necromancer, and that the body is not far from the auditorium, so they suspect that a necromancer has infiltrated the academy. Meanwhile, the MC goes to the deserted training land in the west of the city. He looks at the map and sees that he has arrived at the place the director mentioned. Then he burns the map, and the system appears informing that the location has approximately 40 hectares in the western zone of Fengchuan City, and that the owner is the Extraordinary Academy. But the temporary lease contract has just come into effect, with a duration of 1 year, and the exclusion clause is active, giving Lin Feng exclusive use of the place. He is shocked to see that he will only have 1 year, but thinks that after 1 year, most people go to the battlefield, so having only 1 year is understandable. Then he gets excited and shouts that having so much land for at least 1 year is incredible, since this is what is worthy of being called a spiritual farm master. Then he releases his necromancer power and soon summons his summons. He points at them and shouts that they will start working. He Xiao begins to dig the soil, Yue Ye releases her water power into the ground, and the other summons begin to plow and plant seeds. Meanwhile, the MC is sitting calmly, eating some slices of watermelon and thinking that magic transforms lives, and that apparently the elders really did not deceive him. Then one of the summons nudges the MC, and he asks if it is already finished, but is soon surprised to see that the initiative of his summons is quite strong. Yue Ye tries to say something, and the MC pays attention to see what it is. But when he sees that the summon said nothing, he comments that expecting them, a bunch of undead, to have self-awareness is still asking too much. That said, he goes outside, and Yue Ye just watches her master and then gives a slight smile. Lin Feng goes to one of the greenhouses and begins to observe the crops, and soon notices that they are already granting 1 more permanent point in endurance, life, and attack power. Then he gets excited, thinking that other people's power is cultivated by themselves, but he improves using crops, balanced nutrition, and a solid foundation. But he has in mind that it is a pity that it seems he can only make the crops have these effects, because he thinks that if his harvest were a little larger and everyone could improve with it, the demonic clan would be nothing more than clay chickens and ceramic dogs. Therefore, he concludes that just planting these plants will not be enough, because he needs to plant enough outside. Otherwise, he thinks the things in the greenhouse will be easily discovered. 3 days later, after opening a hole in the ground, he asks his summons if they have learned how to dig the soil. A few minutes later, Lin Feng sees the lower summons digging as he had explained and thinks they are doing very well, since as long as he has this group of helpers, planting vegetables will be very fast. However, he sees something that makes him nervous and shouts, asking what is going on. One of the summons is eating one of the seeds, and the MC quickly goes over to it to ask what it is thinking. Lin Feng observes his summon and sees that its attributes are being temporarily increased. Then, he recalls that all the undead lizards there were obtained from the previous dungeon, and that the only difference compared to the others is that this one just ate a potato. Then he becomes surprised, questioning whether it is possible that the undead can also receive the effects of the original harvests again. Therefore, in the following days, the MC begins to experiment systematically, recording the effects of various crops on the undead. But at the same time, someone is lurking nearby. A man on top of a greenhouse observes the surroundings and finds everything very strange, since until a few days ago, there were no such things there. Then, he draws his knives and concludes that he will need to investigate. As he approaches the MC's cabin, he is surprised to see that there is only one person and wonders if it might be a trap. Then, as he walks forward, he steps on something that makes a noise and immediately has to jump back because of a small explosion. This was due to a potato mine that the MC planted. The man jumps back again to escape another small explosion. He laughs and wonders if the boy thinks he would fall for something so pathetic. Then several potato mines come out of the ground and make the man quite worried. Several chain explosions begin to happen and continue for some time. At that moment, a strange power awakens. Meanwhile, the man from before managed to escape the explosions, but is nervous, thinking that if it were not to gain the Duke's trust, he would never have gone there, but he swears that he will eliminate whoever is doing this. Therefore, he starts attacking the potatoes before they explode. Then he notices something strange and wonders if he is really sensing a certain undead aura coming from the creatures. Then he remembers when the Duke had informed him that the trip to Fengshuan City would be for reconnaissance, and that his main mission was to find the necromancer He Xiao. After remembering this, he questions whether that place is really the necromancer's hideout and why he would hide there. But he keeps in mind that this guy, He Xiao, with the secret immortality technique, really has no shame at all. Therefore, he runs off, because he knows he cannot stay there for long, since he needs to find He Xiao as soon as possible. The next day, the MC wakes up and thinks that the day before he had already catalyzed and fertilized the seeds in most areas, and that the next step is to handle the remaining areas. Then, he is completely surprised as he sees his greenhouse and the surrounding area completely destroyed. At that moment, a huge creature flies over the place, drawing the MC's attention, who immediately wants to know what it is. The creature descends toward the MC, and two people are controlling it. Lin Feng asks why members of the inspection team are there. One of the men says that according to the demonic energy detector, the source of the energy is right there. The other man asks whether that place was not originally the training field and how it suddenly became like this, and whether there might be members of the demonic clan lurking around. The man with glasses takes out a device and is informed that the area they are in is rented. Therefore, the man with glasses comments that they are in a private area, but even so, they cannot rule out the appearance of a possible member of the demonic clan. Then one of them shouts, calling the MC a farmer and informing him that they are from the inspection team. Lin Feng remains suspicious, questioning why the inspection team would be there. The man with glasses informs the MC that the instrument he is using detected demonic energy in the area, so he asks if the boy could open the barrier and let them enter to check. The MC is intrigued upon hearing about the demonic energy and immediately wonders how such energy could exist on the land he rented just a few days ago. Then, from a distance, another guy appears asking if it really takes all that time just to ask a farmer to open the barrier. Then, with his completely overwhelming aura, he emphasizes that Tuka was just eliminated by the demonic clan, and that now the aura of the demonic clan is appearing there. That said, he becomes serious and says that if they ask him, he is certain that the boy is a spy of the demonic clan. Lin Feng becomes quite worried, thinking that perhaps he has just been discovered. One of the inspection team members comments that he finds Haru a bit impulsive. Meanwhile, the guy with glasses emphasizes that, in the end, Tuka was just eliminated and demonic energy appeared again. So, he believes that the suspicion about Lin Feng is indeed correct. With that said, he approaches the MC and asks him to cooperate with the investigation and open the barrier. Lin Feng thinks that he needs to come up with a way to get these guys away. So, he makes a pitiful face and says that his class is low and that he has always been looked down on, and that he only wanted to hide in a quiet place and cultivate seriously, but that now, as members of the inspection team, they still want to place this kind of suspicion on him. The guy with glasses comments to his captain that the boy is already so ridiculous that they could just let it go, but he gets even more furious and shouts, asking if the guy with glasses cannot see that the boy is pretending to be something he is not. Then, he clenches his fist tightly and charges at the MC, and when the punch lands, a strong shock occurs. As soon as the dust settles, it can be seen that Lin Feng blocked the captain's attack, but he keeps in mind that he still needs to continue pretending, so he falls to the ground, pretending to be in pain, and the captain wonders if he used that much force in his punch, but thinks that the boy should definitely have been eliminated by it. Lin Feng continues his act and asks if they still want to keep torturing him so he can confess, and they can close the case quickly. One of the inspection team members pats Haru on the back and asks him to control his temper, since the boy only possesses nature magic. And the demon clan hates everything related to nature, and even a 6-year-old child knows that. The guy with glasses helps the MC get up and says that it seems they misunderstood, since his nature magic is very pure, and they will explain the situation in the report. Lin Feng says that the guy with glasses is a good person and thanks him for understanding. Haru does not like hearing that at all and becomes even more furious. Then, he prepares his attack again and charges forward, but this time the other members step in to stop him. Haru stops the attack and gets angry at his partners for being so soft. After that, the inspection team members leave, and the MC thinks that, apparently, just farming will not be enough, and that he needs sufficient power for self-preservation. Later, a magical origami goes to the MC and informs him that he needs to gather at the Academy's training field the next morning to participate in the ability assessment and the new students' ranking competitions, and that absence will not be allowed. The notice was sent by the Academic Affairs Department of the Extraordinary Academy. Lin Feng takes a deep breath and wonders why it is so difficult to live a peaceful life. Meanwhile, outside the lands rented to the MC, a woman is commenting to a man about how pure and powerful the nature magic is. Then, she asks if the boy is really just a farmer. The man replies that he is not sure, but that the boy's system profession is showing as a spiritual master farmer. However, he becomes serious and asks why the distinguished level 50, when nature-type archmage seems to be interested. She replies that she thinks the boy appears to have a mutant class, and that he also seems to have other secrets. However, she emphasizes that his nature magic alone is enough to clear him of suspicion of colluding with the demon clan, since such a clan cannot fake a life aura without it making them sick. The director agrees with her and points out that he believes some people will calm down now, but that they also need to leave to watch a good spectacle that is about to happen. A few hours later, at the Extraordinary Academy's freshman training field, the place is packed. One of the participants comments that he had thought classes could start immediately, and, when looking at the MC, he says that he has insider information, but that he will not tell anyone. Then the instructor appears, asking everyone to be quiet and saying that she knows they all have many questions, since it does not make much sense to carry out another admission evaluation after the interviews with the instructors. With that, she explains that urgent military information arrived from the front line the previous day and that the demon clan's offensive has intensified and the fortress outside the third barrier is in imminent danger, and therefore the Academy has received orders to transport a batch of vital forces to provide immediate support. The participants are shocked upon hearing this and immediately ask if they will not study and cultivate first, since they have just enrolled. The instructor makes it clear that if the nest is destroyed, she wants to know how the eggs could remain intact, since if the fortress is invaded, the spearhead of the demon clan will point directly at the city of Fengchuan, and at that moment, she asks if they think they will still be able to cultivate peacefully at the academy. Then she emphasizes that this is not a request, but a summons, since in times of danger for humanity, no one can stay out. Ailing's brother looks at her and asks if everything will be fine. Ailing looks at Lin Feng and, a little embarrassed, replies to her brother that everything will be fine and that he should not worry, but she keeps thinking that the MC seems so exceptional and wonders if he will be selected for mandatory military service. The instructor calls the participants and asks them to follow the instructions and enter the training field to prepare for the practical combat evaluation. The MC thinks that, since he is from the farmer class, he should not be selected for the front line at the moment, otherwise his farming plan will be interrupted. A few minutes later, in the area designated for evaluation, a woman calls the MC a master farmer and comments that she heard he is very good at hiding. Then, as she prepares, she asks him to simply turn into ashes under her flames. With that, she launches her infernal attack, but the MC dodges and thinks that the magical condensation of her magic is very slow and insufficient, since her fire cannot even roast a few sweet potatoes in his field. She gets angry because he is making a fool of her. Then, while channeling her power, she starts making very ridiculous poses, and the MC watches her in disbelief at what he is seeing, until he decides to attack her right away and lands a punch right in the middle of her stomach. She is thrown violently backward and ends up crashing against the wall. After that, the MC goes through several fights and manages to win them all. Then he thinks that defeating so many opponents should be enough, and that he might even lose the next ones. At that moment, Vera, the Archmage, appears, giving the boy some water and saying that with his current talent and potential, he is fully qualified to aim for a higher platform. He becomes intrigued by this and asks for a better explanation. Vera tells him to accumulate credits and pass the evaluation to advance to the higher-level Solar Wheel Academy, since there are better cultivation methods and more powerful instructors there, and that he may even have the chance to obtain legendary weapons or even mounts of powerful demonic beasts. Lin Feng remembers the mounts he saw earlier with the inspection team members and soon thanks her for the kindness, but points out that he really does not need that. Vera is surprised to hear that he does not need it and asks what he wants in the end. The MC replies that he only wants better and larger land to cultivate in peace. The Archmage comments that it seems he misunderstood her, so she explains that what she wants to know is what he truly wants and what he intends to do after finishing cultivating such lands. Lin Feng says that he plans to cultivate more land and that he thinks they should allow more people to have land to cultivate. Then the director of the Solar Wheel Academy appears, commenting that he clearly remembers that the MC is already developing the wasteland to the west of the city and therefore wants to know if that is not enough for him to cultivate. Lin Feng lets out an awkward laugh, but points out that the more he cultivates, the better. Then he hears his name being called for the next fight and says goodbye. The director of the Solar Wheel Academy comments to Vera that apparently the boy seems to be very honest. She asks if, by any chance, if a child wants something, it is enough to simply give them what they want. The director becomes intrigued and asks if she is thinking of taking him in. Vera replies that she indeed finds the boy very interesting. Meanwhile, the MC prepares to fight Ailing, who comments that she did not expect to be able to fight him, but becomes serious and makes it clear that she will give it her all in their battle. Lin Feng laughs and says that, actually, he cannot defeat her, and that he was even planning to give up. Ailing gets nervous, asking if he is joking, and charges forward. The MC is surprised to see that she is taking the initiative, but soon activates his power and binds her legs with his vines. But Ailing manages to destroy them easily with her kick. Meanwhile, Vera and the director of the Solar Wheel Academy are watching the fight between the MC and Ailing, and Vera asks if a student below level 10 really has so much pure magical power. The director replies that yes, and that he was also shocked when he saw it for the first time. The Archmage emphasizes that not even Heru, who reached level 80 in the nature system, possesses magical power as pure as the MC's, so she believes that the boy's future achievements will be limitless. The director remembers when Heru delivered his powerful punch to the MC and he managed to defend the blow easily, so he comments that such a good seedling is very rare and that if there is a teacher to guide him, he believes that the boy's future can truly be bright. Vera comments that she has already decided and wants to take him as her teacher. The director says that it is very good to know that she will become his teacher, but soon realizes what the Archmage said and asks if she did not say things the other way around, because he swears he heard her say that she wanted to take the boy as her teacher. She replies that she did not say it the other way around, and that she is saying she wants to have him as her teacher. The director comments that he thinks this is not right, and asks if her brain was burned by the demon clan. Vera gets excited and replies that even if her brain was burned, she still wants to have the boy as her teacher. Meanwhile, the fight between the MC and Ailing is very intense. Ailing keeps advancing, forcing the MC to dodge her attacks. Lin Feng thinks that he believes he has shown enough strength and that, therefore, he only needs to pretend weakness and admit defeat. Until the director of the Solar Wheel Academy calls out to the MC and says that if he keeps holding back in the fight, the Academy will take the land he has west of the city and give it to someone else to use. Upon hearing that his land will be taken, Lin Feng becomes serious, as he knows he cannot lose it under any circumstances. Ailing is startled when she realizes that the MC's aura suddenly changed, and that if before he was only defending passively, now he is truly starting to take the fight seriously. Lin Feng begins to channel his power, just like Ailing, but she is faster and launches a huge fireball. The MC is not intimidated and jumps, striking the fireball with a punch. Then, he advances toward Ailing, telling her to take his punch more seriously. With that, he delivers his strike. Ailing is terrified, thinking she will be eliminated, as she will not be able to defend against the tremendous power of the MC. But he stops the blow and, laughing, says that in the end, Ailing let him win. The participants around the arena are shocked, wondering if Lin Feng, a simple farmer, had been hiding his strength all along. Vera comments that they are right and emphasizes that the MC's control over the power of nature is something immense, and that she believes he will truly be the future of the next generation. As soon as the MC is announced as the winner of the fight, he helps Ailing get up. She takes his hand and says that she accepts defeat from the bottom of her heart because he is very strong. Lin Feng points out that he believes she is the one who is truly strong, as he only has a lot of strength. Then, the MC takes a deep breath, thinking that he only needed to show his strength so as not to lose his land. Then the director of the Solar Wheel Academy appears, patting him on the back and saying that he loved the fight. Lin Feng thanks him for showing mercy. He simply asks the MC to keep working hard, as he is very eager to see his growth. Lin Feng gives a slight smile, but inside he calls the director a grumpy old man and thinks that he dared to threaten him with his land. And while the MC keeps thinking about it, Vera watches him from afar until he notices something strange and turns to see what it is. But the Archmage disappears, then soon appears again with a different look, and this time with a younger appearance, calls the MC and asks him to guide her in her cultivation. Lin Feng is surprised by the sudden request, but asks if someone with a combat class is really asking a farmer for guidance. She introduces herself and says that they have never met before, but that she just watched his fight, and that his use of natural mana is simply perfect, since she has never seen anyone use the power of nature with so much vitality and strength, and as she has been stuck in her current realm for a long time, she feels that his path might give her some inspiration. Lin Feng is stunned by all that talk, but asks if she is also a nature type, since he heard that nature type instructors are still in training, so he asks why she does not wait a bit longer, since in the end, he only knows how to farm. Vera explains that the skilled are the teachers and emphasizes that she is not asking him to formally accept her as a disciple, but rather that she can just visit his fields from time to time to observe and learn. With that, she starts bowing over and over again, saying that even if it is just helping with occasional work, just feeling his natural aura from the outside would already be great. The MC, while watching her carefully, thinks that he cannot let people know what he is cultivating in his fields, since he knows it is very dangerous and easy to expose. Therefore, he tells Vera that he is sorry and emphasizes that as a farmer, he has nothing to teach her, and that he only has a lot of strength and is not good at fighting. However, out of nowhere, the director of the Solar Wheel Academy appears saying that the girl is begging too much, and that he thinks the MC should just agree and do it for him. Then, the director whispers a few things in Lin Feng's ear, which leaves him quite surprised. So the MC tells Vera that everything is settled and that he will help her. She is surprised and asks if he is really serious, because if he is, she emphasizes that he does not need to worry since she will not bother him. But soon she grabs his arm and asks if she can already go see him the next day. He replies that it is up to her and informs her that his land is located on the west side of the city. The next day, around the MC's greenhouse, Vera is very excited, going back and forth, asking if she can help with anything. Lin Feng thinks that Vera at least has a serious attitude, but that he definitely cannot let her see the crops inside the greenhouse. Therefore, he points forward and asks her to look around outside for now and get familiar with the environment, since he is busy giving the newly produced seedlings some special care. Vera crouches down and, as she observes the crops, thinks that they were nurtured by pure natural mana, being high-quality crops with temporary attribute bonuses. Then she smiles and thinks that Lin Feng is making her more and more curious. An hour later, the MC returns to where Vera is. She picks up a seed in her hand and, as she observes it carefully, thinks that it is indeed something unbelievable. Lin Feng asks if Vera found any problem. She asks if his crops were cultivated using common soil. He replies that yes, and that he only used common soil. Vera asks if he did not even use any monocrystal powder or elemental clay. Lin Feng feels a bit embarrassed, saying that he even thought about it, but that such mana fertilizers are very expensive, and due to his limited resources, he could not afford them. Then he points to one of the plants and asks Vera to look, because he thinks it is probably undernourished. The Archmage reflects that Lin Feng's natural mana is extremely excellent, and since that is the case, she thinks she might be able to help him. With that, she comments that the Academy has a relevant regulation, and that he can use basic materials found in dungeons to exchange for specific items in the Academy's warehouse. The MC is pleased to hear this, and, holding her by the arm, asks if what she is saying is true. Vera replies that yes, and comments that, for example, the level 10 dungeon of the Storm Academy, the Dark Forest, the final boss Kobold of the Shadow Fall, and its boss Fang seem to be exchangeable for a bottle of Earth Pulse. However, the difficulty of a level 10 dungeon is very high, usually requiring 5 people to complete it, although such regulation is about to be cancelled soon. Lin Feng comments that this is great and that he will go prepare right away. Seeing the MC leave at full speed, Vera wonders if only a heart so pure and innocent can nurture such pure natural mana. Later, at the entrance of the level 10 dungeon Dark Forest, some people see the MC running toward the portal entrance and wonder if a mere farmer is not going to the wrong place, and whether he should instead be with a hoe working in the field. Lin Feng does not care at all, and goes straight to the person guarding the dungeon entrance and says that he wants to request a solo entry into the Dark Forest. The instructor looks at the MC's record and says that his level is insufficient and warns him that the risk of entering alone is extremely high. Lin Feng explains that the Academy's regulations state that as long as he is a student of the Academy, he can register. The instructor is surprised to learn that the boy in front of him is a student of the Academy, until Vera appears behind Lin Feng, asking the instructor to be quiet. He feels embarrassed, covers it up, and says that the rules are exactly as the MC said, then wishes him good luck and asks the boy to act within his limits, and that if he thinks he cannot win, he should retreat immediately. Lin Feng starts heading toward the portal entrance, and a guy comments that the MC is just a recruit and that he does not compare to elites like his group, and that he will be rooting for him to be eliminated inside the dungeon so that he does not embarrass the extraordinary Academy. Inside the Dark Forest dungeon, several creatures rush toward the MC, but he calls Yue Ye and He Xiao and asks them to clear the way. After defeating the creatures, Lin Feng activates his necromancer power and orders the defeated creatures to rise and become his warriors. The MC obtains a kobold cub, but soon the level 12 Shadowfall kobold boss appears, and he wonders if the creature in front of him is really the boss, because if it is, he thinks it is not much. With that, while yawning, he asks his summons to get straight to the point. The boss prepares to attack the MC, but He Xiao is faster and lands a punch right in the boss's face, sending it flying away. Yue Ye takes the opportunity and launches her water power at the creature. With that, the MC is informed by the system that he defeated the Shadowfall Kobold boss and gained experience points, which makes him level up to 9 and obtain a boss fang. Then the system informs about the eliminated unit detected, but that his level is insufficient, being unable to convert the Shadowfall Kobold boss into a summit. Lin Feng thinks that apparently he cannot summon monsters of a higher level than himself, and that it is a pity he cannot convert the boss into a summon, but that even so, his objective this time was achieved, since the boss fang was obtained. Then, he knows he just needs to return and exchange it for fertilizer. Lin Feng walks toward the exit portal. Meanwhile, outside the Dark Forest dungeon, the instructor is asking whether they will really need to exchange according to the rules, since the front line is in an emergency situation and combat resources have already been allocated. Vera asks him not to worry, since they are not combat class resources, as it is soil fertilizer for nature types. The instructor comments that they do have that and that they even have plenty in stock. At that moment, Lin Feng exits through the dungeon portal, and it is announced that he has set a first solo completion record, and his special reward will be a heroic spirit fragment. A woman cannot believe it and comments that it is the heroic spirit fragment that can strengthen the origin of the soul and increase class potential. So she asks how a simple farmer could obtain such a legendary reward. Meanwhile, other warriors become furious and shout that it was cheating. because there is no way a damn farmer could clear a level 10 dungeon alone, and because of that, they demand that the Academy thoroughly investigate and reclaim all his rewards, especially the heroic spirit fragment. The Archmage comments that she thought the MC would have to fight at least a few times, but she did not expect him to finish it all at once. Lin Feng asks for the attention of everyone around and asks who he offended this time. But seeing that no one responded, he goes to the professor and comments that, according to the Academy's rules, he is there to exchange for some resources. Then a guy asks what the MC is going to exchange, since the rewards he obtained were all acquired illegally and should be confiscated. However, the professor becomes serious and makes it clear to the guy who said that the rewards were given directly by the dungeon, and that, therefore, the Academy has no right to confiscate them. Then more people approach, and one of them comments that she is willing to make a resource bet. A guy asks what a resource bet would be. The woman who had been outraged by the MC's reward explains that the winner takes everything, receiving both sets of rewards, while the loser loses everything. But that, in fact, it is a speed race in a dungeon, with professors supervising both sides, competing to see who completes it faster. Thus, the professor asks Lin Feng if he is willing to accept the bet. The MC replies that there is no benefit in that. Besides being very boring, the guy who had made the betting proposal asks if Lin Feng will accept if he adds a blueprint for the nature lamp. Vera goes to Lin Feng and comments that he needs to obtain this blueprint. Then she explains that the nature lamp is a magical growth tool exclusive to the nature department and that only one blueprint can be used to craft one, and, therefore, it is extremely rare, and its effects include reducing the crop growth cycle without side effects. The guy continues pressuring the MC, wanting to know if he will accept or run away, as he always does. Meanwhile, the guy who is making the betting proposal to the MC is sending some messages on his phone without anyone noticing. The person he is talking to is Mr. Heru, one of the members of the inspection team. Lin Feng becomes thoughtful about the proposal, since he has in mind that his necromancer abilities cannot be exposed, but that, if it is only a supervising professor, he thinks hiding this from him should not be a big problem, since such a nature lamp blueprint is something he needs to obtain. Thus, he comments that he will accept the bet. The guy starts laughing and says that now they just have to wait and see, because with the professor's supervision, he will surely expose the MC immediately. A few minutes later, already inside the level 10 Dark Forest dungeon, the professor asks how Lin Feng managed to complete the dungeon alone. He feels a bit embarrassed, but says he will show his strength. Having said that, he activates his farmer power and summons his farm workers. His legion of undead summons soon appears, but all are disguised by the MC's nature power. The professor is quite surprised, thinking that the boy's summoning was very fast, and that the quality of his troop also seems very good. Then he reflects that it is a perfect opportunity to see exactly what ability the MC used to complete the dungeon alone. Lin Feng wastes no time and quickly orders his summons to attack with full force. The Shadow Wolves do not stand still either and charge forward, but the Horned Bear is faster and, in a matter of seconds, delivers several blows to all the Shadow Wolves. Yue Ye channels her aquatic power and also launches it at the creatures, and a huge explosion happens due to the impact. He Xiao also activates his ability and launches several lightning strikes at the Shadow Wolves that were approaching from behind. It does not take long for the MC's summons to manage to wipe everything out. The professor is completely surprised, commenting that the boy took less than 1 minute to easily annihilate a squad of Shadow Wolves of the same level. Then he observes Lin Feng closely and wonders if this monstrous power of the boy is due to him having a special class. At that moment, the MC calls the professor and comments that now that he has eliminated the Shadow Wolf squad, he will go straight to the boss room and eliminate it. And as soon as he arrives at the boss room, it appears and immediately charges at the MC with everything. Lin Feng asks the Horned Bear to raise its shield and advance, and for all the others to follow behind, but emphasizes that if any Shadow Wolf dares to try to flank them, they are to attack with full force. Having said that, the Horned Bear blocks the boss's attack. He Xiao quickly moves in front of the creature, prepares to attack, and lands a precise punch on the boss, sending it flying. The professor is completely shocked, thinking about the enormous war potential of the MC and that a person like this must be reported to the director immediately. Lin Feng goes to the fallen boss's body and dismisses his summons. Then he asks the professor supervising him if he has already proven his worth. He replies that without a doubt he has, but wants to know if he is not going to leave the dungeon. Lin Feng answers that the professor just needs to check, and that, since the dungeon scenario he is in is beautiful, he wants to explore a bit more. The professor comments that he will leave first then, but warns that the dungeon will reset in half an hour after being completed, and that, because of this, he should keep an eye on the clock. The MC runs to the fallen creature's body and thinks that before he could not turn it into his summon because the level was too high, so he wants to test it once more. Thus, he crouches down and activates his necromancer power and orders the boss to rise. This time, the MC manages to turn the boss into his summon, and a few minutes later, he leaves the dark forest dungeon. Some people comment that the farmer has come out, and others say that they were booing him, and that they even think it is better to leave. The professor who supervised the MC comments that, in the name of the extraordinary, Lin Feng has certainly proven his worth. Then, he hands the MC the rewards and compensation that belong to him. Lin Feng looks back, and Vera wants to know where he is looking. The MC replies that after the professor went out to give his report, the guy who had made the bet realized he was wrong, dropped everything, and left. But upon looking at the rewards he obtained, he gets excited and thinks that now his crops will improve. And while the MC is fantasizing, the professor goes to Vera and comments that he thinks she might need the recording of the MC fighting in the dungeon. Later, in Haru's room at the Sunwheel Academy, he is furious, and while throwing several punches at a punching bag with a photo of the MC stuck on it, he asks how a humble farmer like the MC dares to humiliate him again. And as soon as he sits down, he comments that he thinks strength will not work, and that the Academy's rules also cannot do anything against him, and therefore, he thinks he needs to use another method. Then he thinks that, at the moment, the MC is only showing off by using that small amount of nature magic and summons. So, he asked the guy who made the bet with the MC to immediately send the letter he is giving to the front line to his uncle, the Duke. Having said that, he comments that the guy should tell his uncle that the mentors of the nature department on the battlefield must return to the academy as soon as possible. The guy is surprised and asks if, by any chance, Haru is planning to use the hands of the instructors of the nature department to suppress the MC. Haru replies that that is exactly it, because those old men value the purity and rules of nature magic above all else, and that, because of this, he thinks it is best that they deal with this Lin Feng, since he wants to see if he can still be so arrogant. Meanwhile, in Vera's room at the Extraordinary Academy, she is lying down watching the video of Lin Feng's fight in the level 10 Dark Forest dungeon, and after watching a bit, she thinks that he is simply a monster, and that his understanding of the power of nature has already become instinctive. Thus, she concludes that she will write a letter to notify the grumpy elders of the nature department, asking them to return immediately from the front line. It does not take long for Vera to write the letter and send it, and she keeps thinking that if those old men do not return soon, the lifetime achievement rewards will fly away. After that, for several consecutive days, Lin Feng constantly entered dungeons, and, because of that, he always broke his own record. Some people, upon seeing him coming out of the dungeon, want to know how he managed to complete it alone again, and so quickly, and whether he is treating the Dark Forest dungeon as if it were his own home. Lin Feng goes to the professor and hands over the drops left by the boss, and comments that, once again, he wants to exchange them for fertilizer. The professor tells Lin Feng that his accumulated credits are enough to request a promotion, since he believes that remaining in the lower academy has little meaning for him. So he suggests that Lin Feng try to apply for a promotion to the upper academy. The MC is surprised to hear this, so he asks if what the professor suggested is really true. He replies that it is, and explains that the Extraordinary Academy is divided into upper and lower academies. The lower academy cultivates basic talents, like his current Storm Academy, while the Sunwheel Academy is the meeting point of elites from all lower academies, known as the Upper Academy. Thus, the professor explains that upon entering the Sunwheel Academy, the rewards that the MC can exchange for, whether in quality or variety, are far superior to what the lower academy can offer, being the place where a genius like him should go. Lin Feng thinks about everything he heard, then says he understands and thanks the professor. Later, in the academy's mission hall, Lin Feng greets and says that he is there to apply for promotion to the Sun Wheel Academy. The person in charge asks for his name, department, and proof of credits. As soon as the MC hands over what was requested, the person in charge sees that he currently has 30,135 credits. Some people nearby also see the number of credits Lin Feng has, and a guy comments that if he remembers correctly, this is the guy who farmed the Dark Forest tirelessly, and that he would really like to know how many times he had to farm the dungeon to get more than 30,000 credits. At that moment, the person responsible for evaluating the credits tells the MC that his credits have been verified and hands him the promotion mission scroll, then emphasizes that after he completes the task and passes the evaluation, he will officially become a member of the Sun Wheel Academy. Lin Feng asks if after his promotion, he will be able to exchange for gold quality supplies. The red-haired girl replies that yes, but since he is currently affiliated with the Storm Academy, he can only exchange credits for bronze and silver quality supplies. But after his promotion, he will be able to exchange for rare supplies from gold to platinum quality. Lin Feng says he understands and thanks her for the explanation. As he leaves, he wonders if he should go to the defensive line area outside the city to look for something he has in mind, since he knows the place is very close to the mansion and, therefore, thinks it should not be difficult. But before that, he needs to get something first. Later, Lin Feng goes to a certain place and hands over the nature lamp blueprint. An old man comments that although the blueprint is only silver, its effects are not inferior to those of gold items, and that, therefore, the MC should preserve it well and be extremely careful not to let it be contaminated by necrotic energy. Lin Feng says he understands and thanks the old man. Then, after going outside, he goes to a remote place and observes everything to see if there is no one nearby. Then, he places the nature lamp blueprint on the ground and thinks that although it is said that the lamp cannot be contaminated by necrotic energy, he does not know why, but he has a feeling in his heart that he wants to try doing the opposite. Thus, he channels a bit of his necromancer power into the lamp, and it quickly becomes something more sinister and releases a dark power. Lin Feng wonders if what just happened is a direct transformation from a nature type to an undead type. Then he decides to test it, and upon picking up the lamp in his hand, he realizes that fortunately, by using nature type mana, he can transform the lamp back to its nature type. Otherwise, he thinks he really would not be able to use it. Later, outside the city, on Lin Feng's farm, he places the nature lamp outside and observes it. It does not take long for his crops to begin reacting. The MC reflects that the power of the nature lamp is truly terrifying, since even on its first use, it can make the crops grow so quickly. And, while changing clothes, he wonders if there will be even more things like this in the extraordinary academy, and that, because of this, he thinks he needs to complete the promotion mission to the upper academy soon. And as soon as he passes through the portal, Yueye appears and begins observing the nature lamp. Then, she goes to it and touches it. After that, Lin Feng arrives at the outskirts of the abandoned watchtower and thinks that this is the mission location, but keeps in mind that since it is a search mission, visibility is low, therefore it is better to be very cautious. Then he notices some footprints and wonders if someone has been there recently. Lin Feng crouches down, runs his finger over the ground, and, upon observing, wonders who could have passed through there. But soon he hears a noise and looks up. Two guys are at the top of the watchtower, and one of them tells the other to go slowly because the young master said that they must get the item before Lin Feng arrives and make his mission fail. The other guy laughs and says that he found what they were looking for, but then he tells his partner to speak quietly because he thinks Lin Feng might appear at any moment. The other guy asks what his friend is afraid of, because when the time comes, they can just use fire magic to burn the thing. Then he grabs the item and throws it backward and emphasizes that as soon as the item is destroyed, the MC's mission will be cancelled. However, little did they know that Lin Feng was under the watchtower and ended up catching the thrown item. The MC laughs, calls out to the two guys, and asks if they think he should thank them. The two are in disbelief that the boy was already there, and one of them gives a huge scolding and punches his partner and shouts, telling him to retrieve what he threw from above immediately. Having said that, both of them rush at the MC, who in turn activates his farmer power and counterattacks. Quickly, the two guys are bound by vines, and Lin Feng comments that he thinks they should at least give an explanation. After that, and later on the MC's farm, he is furious, thinking that he did not expect it to be that guy again, because he fears that if this continues, he will be exposed sooner or later, and, because of that, he thinks he needs to come up with a solution as quickly as possible. Then, he becomes very surprised by what he is seeing, since Yue Ye is holding the nature lamp in her hand and giving orders like a general. The summons are cultivating, plowing, and doing the heavy work. Lin Feng rubs his eyes to see if he is seeing correctly, and, once he realizes that he is not crazy, he becomes excited, thinking that everything is completely automated. Meanwhile, in Heru's room, a guy arrives informing his master that they sent people to search the watchtower, but that after some time they had no more news and only found traces of their mana at the location, so he thinks there is a high probability that they were eliminated. Heru throws a heavy punch at the wall and calls everyone he hired trash, since they cannot even handle something so simple. And when thinking about Lin Feng, he becomes even more furious. Thus, he reflects that this damn brat dared to test him. Then he asks the guy to contact the people from the Shadow Eclipse group and offer the highest reward for Lin Feng's life, because he has in mind that surely the one who eliminated Tuka was this boy. After that, and later in the Academy's mission hall, the MC is receiving congratulations for officially becoming a member of the Sun Wheel Academy. The instructor also hands over the uniform and the student identification badge. Lin Feng is happy and thinks that now that he has received the promotion, he will be able to earn more credits and more planting supplies. A few hours later, at the entrance of the Dark Forest dungeon, the MC hands over his identification badge and tells the professor that he would like to register for a solo entry into the dungeon. However, the professor says that this is no longer possible. Lin Feng is surprised and asks the reason, since it was previously allowed. The professor looks a bit embarrassed and explains that, according to the Academy's regulations, in order to reserve enough resources and promotion opportunities for lower Academy students, upper Academy students are forbidden from challenging level 10 or lower dungeons. The MC becomes completely devastated upon hearing this, since now he will no longer be able to farm as he was doing before. Seeing the boy leaving in despair, the professor thinks that if he had not gone, the warehouse there would have been easily emptied. Lin Feng starts thinking that the most efficient way he had to farm supplies is over, so he wonders what he will do now. Then someone comes running and asks if the MC is the newly promoted one. He then introduces himself, saying his name is Ron, and asks if by any chance he is having trouble finding a suitable mission. Next, he says that his squad accepted a dungeon gathering mission and they are one person short. Therefore, Ron asks if the MC is interested in participating, since it is a good opportunity for him to get familiar with the difficulty of the Upper Academy dungeons. Lin Feng becomes intrigued, thinking that the guy appeared out of nowhere. However, he knows that he really needs credits to exchange for supplies, and also needs to understand the Sun Wheel Academy's dungeons. And since it is just a gathering mission, he thinks it should not be a big problem. So he tells Ron that he will accept participating in the mission. He calls the MC to go, as the others are already waiting at the dungeon entrance. It does not take long, and they soon arrive at the mission location. Ron points ahead and introduces the people there. The cold-faced girl is called Yubei, and beside her, the reserved guy is Carter. Ron explains that their objective is to collect moongrass at the bottom of the forest, and that the mission requires 10 stalks, and that according to the intel, there are night elves patrolling the area, so everyone should try to avoid combat and focus on gathering. With that said, everyone passes through the portal. Already inside and after walking deeper into the forest, they soon find the first moongrasses. Ron crouches to pick one and comments that what he is collecting is their mission objective and that he did not expect the search to be so smooth. However, some creatures appear heading toward them. Ron says it must be a night elf patrol, so he tells everyone to prepare for battle. One of the creatures prepares to attack, but is quickly restrained by one of Ron's squad abilities, who then starts attacking as well, preventing the night elves from getting closer. Next, He tells everyone to hold their positions, and for Lin Feng to use nature magic to harass the creatures, since night elves hate nature magic. The MC replies that he understands and quickly casts his vines. Some night elves are caught by the MC's ability, who does not stay still and pulls the trapped creatures. Ron takes the opportunity and attacks, eliminating the night elves that are trapped. But upon seeing that more creatures are coming, Ron calls for Carter and Yubei. She responds that she is ready, just like Carter, who quickly activates his power in the device he was carrying, and by slamming it hard into the ground, creates a huge fissure, causing the night elves to fall. But the MC did not expect this, and nearly falls. Lin Feng tries to hold on at all costs and shouts, calling for the others. Ron crouches down, apologizes, and explains that what happened is that it is a new skill Carter just learned, and that he has not yet become familiar with it. Lin Feng becomes serious and asks if they are not planning to help him. Ron laughs and says that it is not that they will not save him, but since he has just been promoted to the upper academy and is already being stubborn and arrogant and went to challenge elite-level monsters alone, in the end, they will say that the MC tragically sacrificed himself and there was nothing they could do. Lin Feng is stunned upon hearing all this and asks if Ron is not worried about being discovered for trying to eliminate a student from the Sunwheel Academy. He explains that the Sunwheel Academy student identification badge has undergone special processing and can record powerful magical energy, and that after eliminating him, they would take his identification badge to record the elite monster's magic. Lin Feng remains shocked and asks if there is really no other way for them to find out what actually happened there. Ron says that they have done this many times, and that they are already at a professional level. The MC replies that he understands and then lets go of the rock and begins to fall. Ron comments that, knowing he could not resist, Lin Feng voluntarily jumped to have a quick death. However, right after that, he becomes completely terrified by what he is seeing, as the MC managed to get out of the pit with the help of his summons and asks if they are ready to face his legion. With that, he summons his troops and completely surrounds Ron's group. Yue Ye makes a little heart for them, but then unleashes her powerful water attack on them. Ron is badly injured and, as he tries to get up, asks if Lin Feng is actually a necromancer after all. The MC asks if those will be Ron's last words. He calls Lin Feng to talk, saying that in fact they have no conflict, and then reveals that the one who planned all of this was Haru, and therefore thinks Lin Feng should let them go, and that they know they acted wrongly. The MC says that it is not that he knows he was wrong, but that he knows he is going to be eliminated. Ron continues saying that Haru always believed that it was the MC who eliminated Tuka, but that he can help testify against Haru. Lin Feng asks who this Tuka is. Ron becomes embarrassed and says nothing. The MC signals to his summons and makes it clear that this no longer matters. With that, he covers his ears because of the explosion of attacks that his summons are unleashing against Ron's group. Completely defeated, Ron, with the rest of his strength, says that he curses the MC to have a horrible death. Lin Feng steps on his face and emphasizes that his good days are only just beginning. With that, he turns his entire team into his summons. Then, the MC wonders whether undead transformed from humanoid creatures naturally possess higher intelligence than other creatures. And, as he picks up all the identification badges, he thinks about the magic of those night elves from before, and concludes that apparently he does not need to deal with the consequences, since everyone has been eliminated, but that it is still better to go back and report. Then he walks toward the portal to leave the dungeon, but when trying to leave, he is surprised, as something is preventing him from exiting. Lin Feng observes the portal and soon sees the system notice, informing that the special item, Pasture of Regret, has taken effect, and that before the dungeon is cleared, the exit cannot be opened, in addition to the fact that in the dungeon where the MC is, all his attributes have increased by 200%. At that moment, a sinister creature appears in the middle of the forest and charges straight at the MC, who is immediately very surprised by what he is seeing, as a huge man riding a large horse has just arrived in front of him. Lin Feng becomes thoughtful, but soon calls his new summons and reflects that it should not be that difficult to deal with this. With that, he orders his summons to attack. Ron quickly charges forward and strikes the huge horse. Then, Carter prepares his power and launches it, The horse becomes frightened upon seeing a power surrounding it and ends up throwing the man off. Yubei takes advantage of the opening and moves in to attack. She jumps onto a tree branch and delivers her strike, hitting the enemy directly. While eating a banana, the MC thinks that this time his summons have more instinct and are even capable of coordinating with each other, but that even so, it still feels like something is missing. The creature looks at the MC and asks how he is able to use the power of necromancy. Lin Feng is surprised by the sudden question, but soon laughs and says that he would not be able to understand and orders his summons to eliminate him. With that, the horned bear lands a critical blow, and as soon as the creature drops to its knees on the ground, the horned bear finishes him off. Lin Feng sees that the dungeon completion progress is at 50%, so he wonders if the dungeon he is in is actually a double boss system, and that apparently he will have to keep moving forward through the area. After some time, in the central area of the forest, the MC keeps running until upon reaching a certain place, he is surprised as he stands before a kind of dark altar. At that moment, a night elf appears asking why the MC dared to step on sacred ground. He asks how she is able to speak his human language, and if she does not answer, he will start the fight right away. This is the Guardian Shaviu, level 18, who remains silent without answering the MC's question, but prepares her power and attacks. Lin Feng receives a system notification informing that he is entering combat mode and that the Spore Domain effect is active, and all Shadow-type units that are not undead suffer spore erosion damage every 3 seconds, and that the decay effect stacks, and the MC has already accumulated the effect of past regret. Now, his summoned units regenerate 1 mana energy point per second. Lin Feng wonders if this does not mean that in the dungeon he is in, the undead he summons can maintain their existence without consuming his mana. Then, he gives a slight smile, and, thinking about the effect of past regret, believes that at least one good thing has actually happened. With that, he summons his units and orders them to eliminate Guardian Shaviu. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, a man is thinking that even if Ron and the others cannot defeat the MC, there is still the final boss, and that although the effect of past regret can increase all attributes and boost mana regeneration, its real function is actually to lock the dungeon. So he knows that with a boss of that type existing, even if all attributes were increased by 400%, it would be impossible to defeat it. With that, he becomes excited and imagines that just thinking about it makes him very happy. A few minutes later, inside the dungeon, a huge explosion is happening. Yue emerges from the smoke dragging Shaviu by the hair. Meanwhile, the MC continues eating his banana. The MC's summon brings the Guardian closer and drops her on the ground. She looks at He Xiao and asks why he betrayed her. The summon is surprised by the question and gestures with his hand, asking if Shaviu is talking to him. She becomes nervous and says that he destroyed someone's nursery and that this same person will come looking for him. However, as soon as she finishes saying that, she loses consciousness. At that moment, an explosion happens in the cave ceiling, and a beam of light falls onto the Guardian's body. Then, the MC receives a system notification informing that he has completed the dungeon in 2 hours and 17 minutes, setting a new record, and the reward will be calculated. Lin Feng thinks that the dungeon was not that difficult, and that he is even feeling stronger. Then he notices a black egg and becomes intrigued, wondering what it is. As soon as he approaches the egg, the system informs that it is a chthonic demon embryo, a mythical great item, but that it is inactive, being a seed of life left behind after the fall of an ancient chthonic demon, but that it requires specific conditions to hatch. The current state is dormant, but there is a strong detection of death aura, possessing an affinity of 30%. Lin Feng carefully observes the egg while wondering what exactly it is. A few minutes later, he takes out a storage ring and begins storing the egg. Then, he goes to the portal and sees that he can now return. However, before leaving, he walks over to the Guardian and thinks that if he converts her into a summon, it may consume a lot, but he knows that after the conversion, she should be at least at the same level as He Xiao. With that, he orders her to rise. Xavius begins to transform into one of the MC's summons and soon says that she is at his disposal. Lin Feng is surprised that his newest summon can speak his language, so he decides to ask if she can really talk. She replies that she is the executioner of death. The MC says that he knows what she is, But what he wants to know is whether she can speak. Xavius keeps repeating the same thing and makes the MC nervous, who soon tells her to forget it and stop talking. After that, he leaves the dungeon. The guy who was outside hoping for Lin Feng to be eliminated is completely shocked to see him coming out unharmed from the dungeon. The people around comment that they know the dungeon is a place where even a squad of 5 people would usually be defeated. Then one of them calls the MC and asks if he came out alone and where Ron, Carter, and Yubei are. Lin Feng shows their identification badges and says that they faced a massive attack of night elves while collecting moongrass, and that, unfortunately, they got separated. Then, he pretends to cry and emphasizes that he barely managed to escape and accidentally triggered the boss fight, narrowly escaping death to defeat it and get out, but that he fears the other 3 were eliminated. The man takes the identification badges and, upon observing them, comments that it is indeed the magical power of the night elves. Meanwhile, the other guy who was outside the dungeon, hoping something would go wrong for the MC, becomes nervous upon hearing all of this. The instructor asks whether Lin Feng encountered any unexpected situation after entering the dungeon. He says that after entering, he acquired an effect called past regret. The instructor asks if the MC has made any enemies recently. Meanwhile, the guy who is outside the dungeon, from afar, thinks that what happened is impossible because he knows there is no way Lin Feng could have cleared a dungeon of that level alone. The MC looks to the side as he notices he is being watched and sees a strange guy among the others, who in turn is surprised to realize that the MC is looking at him. Lin Feng smiles and says that, regarding the instructor's question about whether he made any enemies recently, he says that he has just been promoted to the Sun Wheel Academy. The instructor says he understands, but emphasizes that they will investigate the matter carefully and ensure justice for him. Lin Feng thanks him and says he will be counting on the instructor, and as soon as the instructor leaves, the guy outside the dungeon becomes frightened as the MC summoned Guardian Xavius and ordered her to chase after him. A few hours later, already at the MC's farm, he is observing the egg and thinking that everything was fine outside the dungeon earlier. But after returning to the farm, the embryo suddenly became restless. Then, he wonders if the egg was actually placed in the dungeon intentionally by someone to be cared for. So, he decides to test something and applies a bit of his nature power, questioning whether the egg can be influenced by both of his magical powers simultaneously. He is then surprised to remember that, logically speaking, he knows that undead-type magic and nature magic cannot coexist. Thus, he becomes intrigued again, wanting to know why things are like this, since the egg apparently is like him, capable of allowing 2 types of magic to coexist within it. He then becomes sulky, thinking that he is a human, while the egg seems like something created by the demon clan at first glance. Then, he gets an idea, stores the egg in his storage ring, changes clothes, and thinks there is only one way to find out. Lin Feng goes to the academy director's office, and as soon as he enters, the director asks if he has not rested yet after leaving the dungeon earlier. The MC comments that it is difficult to explain what he has to say and thinks it is better for him to take a direct look. So he shows the egg he obtained in the dungeon. The director takes a brief look and immediately asks where the MC found such a thing. Lin Feng says that he was inside the Dark Forest dungeon and that the egg dropped after he eliminated the final boss, but emphasizes that at first he thought it was just a normal drop item. The director comments that the egg is from a chthonic demon. Then he reveals that the demon clan managed to cross the barrier and enter the dungeon directly to cultivate these things. The MC becomes confused upon hearing about a chthonic demon and asks the director to be clearer. He explains that the chthonic demon is one of the units of the demon clan and that they use humans as food, and by feeding on humans, they gain powerful strength, and some can even traverse space. With that said, he explains that there is the conventional Type 1, Type 4, and the Lord of the Blood Cave, and that these chthonic demons that gained the power to traverse space use dungeon mechanics to plant seeds or embryos, in addition to using battles, eliminations, and magical fluctuations of adventurers as nutrients to silently incubate. The director becomes serious and emphasizes that once the embryo matures, it will break through the dungeon and descend into reality. He then tries to touch the embryo, but is immediately repelled. He then comments that the embryo there must have just entered the growth phase and fears that If it had remained in the dungeon, absorbing nutrients, it would have hatched in at most half a year, and, after hatching, it would become an extremely high-level chthonic demon. And if it caused chaos in the academy, the consequences would be unimaginable. But what intrigues him the most is that this type of embryo hides extremely deep, and unless there is a similar aura, it usually does not appear. So he asks if the MC understands what they are talking about. Lin Feng immediately becomes worried, thinking that he ended up slipping in the end. But the director laughs and says it is fine, and that he will not provoke him, since he rendered a service by handing it over in a reasonable and rational manner, and therefore he will not do anything to him, since everyone has secrets, and the Academy respects that as long as he does not harm the Academy or violate the basic principles of humanity, the Academy is willing to give geniuses space to grow. However, the director comments that he will need the MC's promise, that no matter what power he possesses, he must remember that he is a student of the Solar Wheel Academy and a member of humanity. Lin Feng thanks the director and swears that he will keep such a secret. Thus, the director stands up and pats the MC on the back a few times while saying that this is how it should be said. Then, the director takes a territory flag and explains that it is a reward for delivering the embryo and also an investment in his potential, and that if he plants it in a place the MC trusts, the flag will be able to deploy a primary territory barrier with a radius of 500 meters and can achieve a certain degree of terrain modification. As soon as Lin Feng takes the item in his hand, he is completely amazed at feeling the incredible power of the law and comments that his farm needed exactly something like this. The director tells the MC that if there is nothing else, he should go back and rest first, as he will send someone to take care of the matter they discussed. However, before Lin Feng leaves, the director says that there will be a freshman exchange meeting in the Academy auditorium in 3 days, and that the MC can go meet some classmates. And also that a mentor from the nature department presented a very interesting topic before going to the front line for work, about plant cultivation and hybridization. Lin Feng looks at the flag and starts thinking about hybridization, since he has in mind that before he simply placed undead and plants together, but he wonders what would happen if he fully hybridized them. After that, already the next day at the MC's farm, he goes to a spot on his farm and places the territory flag on the ground. It does not take long for a powerful energy to emerge, which leaves Lin Feng quite surprised and thinking that after using the territory flag, the concentration of nature magic around is increasing. But when observing his summons, he notes that only they and the hybridization are really difficult to deal with. Then he senses something strange and, looking to the side, wonders if something happened where Xavius is. Meanwhile, in Haru's room, he is thinking that the people he hired were a bunch of trash, since they could not even solve the problem of a brat who had just been promoted. But he soon becomes nervous and thinks that he cannot wait any longer, since they also found clues related to the investigation at the Solar Wheel Academy, and he fears that if they discover that he eliminated Tuka, things could get out of control. Thus, he goes to a steel door and activates it to open. Haru starts going down the stairs and goes to a sinister altar with a bizarre demonic statue. Then, he takes a knife and makes a cut on his own hand, and as soon as he lets some of his blood fall onto the altar, the statue releases a dark power and comments that he had said before for Haru not to bother him if there was nothing else to do. Haru becomes timid, but tells the great Gladiusa that his humble servant prays for guidance, since that anomaly called Lin Feng is destroying his master's seeding plan, so he wants to know how he should proceed. Gladiusa emphasizes that those who delusionally want to change fate will eventually be punished by him, and that he will send someone to resolve the problem. Haru thanks his master, but asks him to do it quickly, otherwise he fears the worst. Gladiusa becomes angry, attacks Haru, and makes it clear that he is not to make requests. Haru is hit directly and thrown back violently. After the connection with his master is cut, Haru, completely injured, becomes angry, thinking that everything that is happening is Lin Feng's fault, but he does not realize that Xavius is spying on him from within his own shadow. Later, at the freshman exchange meeting in the Academy auditorium, the MC is bored and thinking that he should not have listened to the director's nonsense. Then, he wonders if the time he is wasting there would not be better spent researching hybridization at the farm. Until, when he grabs something to eat and tries it, He thinks that in the end, something good might come from this meeting. At that moment, a guy approaches the MC wanting to know if he is the student Lin Feng. The MC, while eating, nods and answers yes. The blonde guy comments that he heard Lin Feng cleared the dark forest dungeon alone, so he wants to know if he can ask for advice. The MC thinks that the guy in front of him is quite strange, because he knows that clearly everyone around would avoid him, but even so, he deliberately came to talk. So he apologizes, and, pretending to be sad and crying, says that he really does not want to talk about these matters, because 3 allies were eliminated in the dungeon. The blonde asks Lin Feng not to be sad and says he is sorry for bringing up his sad past, but that he will ask again later. However, he becomes intrigued, wondering if the MC is really the person that Master Guladiosa asked to eliminate, since he thinks he does not seem like much. Seeing the guy leave, Lin Feng becomes intrigued by this sudden interaction. Later, in Haru's room, he is thinking that Iron Lion Duke, the mentor of the nature department, and Guladiosa have already been notified, but he wonders why he still feels his heart uneasy about something. At that moment, a dark energy appears, saying that Haru feeling uneasy is correct. He turns to see who it is, and sees Lin Feng and Xavius. The MC approaches, showing one finger, and asks what number Haru is seeing. He answers that it is the number 1. Thus, Lin Feng grabs Haru and prepares to throw his punch while saying that he is right. With that said, he lands a punch right in the middle of Haru's face and makes it clear that he had been tolerating him for a long time. Haru is violently thrown against the wall. He tries to get up, but first wants to know how the MC managed to get in. Lin Feng becomes serious, tells Haru to shut up, and asks if the events that happened in the Dark Forest dungeon were his doing. Haru starts trembling with anger, calls at the MC a bastard, and says he cannot believe that he dared to punch his face. And as soon as he stands up, he begins to release a strange dark energy. Then he activates his forbidden technique of the Demon Clan, Flesh Sacrifice, and transforms into a huge creature with tremendous power. Lin Feng, seeing that Haru used a forbidden technique of the Demon Clan, wants to know if he is some kind of demon spy. Haru laughs and makes it clear that he has always been a faithful devotee of Guladiosa. The MC becomes intrigued and comments that, in the end, Haru serves the 7th Demon King. He becomes nervous and immediately wants to know how the MC dares to pronounce his master's name directly. Thus, Haru charges forward, but Xavius steps in front and blocks the attack. Haru tries to break Xavius's defense, but ends up getting injured in the process and cannot. She comments that his power has strong corrosiveness. Meanwhile, the MC is thinking that originally he only wanted to probe Haru, but now things have become complicated. Xavius prepares her scythe to attack, but Haru starts shouting, saying that he was worried about how he would deal with the MC and did not expect him to show up at his door. Lin Feng channels some of his power into his hand and thinks that at the moment, the only way is to take advantage of Haru's distraction and eliminate him quickly. Then, he makes a movement with his other hand, and the rest of his summons appear. Haru comments that Lin Feng, in the end, is quite troublesome, since he possesses undead magic. Thus, he thinks of Tuka and reflects that his sacrifice was not in vain, as they truly caught a genius of the human race. He Xiao cannot hold back and lands a direct hit on Haru. Lin Feng wants to know if Haru was the one who eliminated Tuka. He begins to chant and then shouts that he respectfully welcomes his master's will to descend upon his body. A magic circle is created between him and the MC, and Haru tells them to tremble and welcome the descent of the Demon King, Guladiosa. One of the Demon Kings appears, and Haru kneels calling for his master. However, Guladiosa, while punching Haru, wants to know how a mere ant dares to speak his true name. Haru becomes confused by his master's attitude. Meanwhile, the MC does not care at all and immediately orders his summons to eliminate the Demon King. He Xiao prepares his ability and as soon as it is ready, fires. Guladiosa is surprised and wonders if He Xiao was really defeated, but soon has to defend himself to avoid being hit. Guladiosa looks at Haru and thinks that since the summoner is very fragile, his mana cannot sustain the defensive formation. Thus, he extends his arm toward Haru and begins to absorb the power he gave him. After completely taking his life energy, he comments that now he can fight the MC for real. Lin Feng has in mind that even if all his summons appear together, he thinks they probably will not be a match for Guladeosa, and that, because of that, he knows facing him head-on is definitely not a wise move. Then he looks at Haru's weakened body and at the summoning magic circle he created and gets an idea of what he can do. Next, the MC calls Guladeosa a foolish member of the demon clan and comments that since he knows he is a necromancer, he found the duel challenge interesting. With that said, he orders his summons to attack. Guladeosa asks if this is how a mere human tries to provoke him, because if it is, he finds it pathetic, then launches his attacks. Xavius prepares her skill, as does Yueye, but before they could finish, they are struck by Guladeosa's attack, who comments that the MC's other summons are quite weak, but that he is starting to doubt how he dealt with He Xiao, and as soon as he grabs Lin Feng by the arm, he says that before he is eliminated, he will allow him to say his last words. With that said, he calls the MC a pathetic successor and emphasizes that he understands nothing about the power of the undead. Lin Feng laughs and says that it is Guladeosa who does not understand the power of the undead, then explains that he had already realized that after he appeared, he chose to drain Haru's mana but left him alive, and that the mana for the formation that summons him also decreased a lot, and because of that, he thinks his summoning still has limitations. With that said, he makes it clear that he definitely bet correctly, since he bet that if he turned Haru into one of his summons, something would happen to him. As the summoning is undone, Guladeosa calls the MC a damned brat and swears he will never forget him. As soon as the Demon King disappears, Lin Feng thinks he will be waiting eagerly. A few minutes later, some people arrive at the place and, while hidden, want to know what just happened. The MC notices their presence and immediately runs away to avoid being discovered. After dawn, Lin Feng arrives at his farm and thinks that his mana is almost completely empty, and he knows that if he had not been right in his bet, he would be finished. At that moment, a strange energy begins to emerge behind the MC. He turns to see what is happening, and a guy jumps out of a rift he created. Then he says that he was happily eliminating targets on another mission, but was suddenly interrupted by his lord, and that because of that, he is very unhappy. With that said, he takes his sword and, as he draws it, tells the MC to stay still so he can eliminate him calmly. Lin Feng asks for all his summons to appear, but ends up surprised to see that his mana has run out, so he thinks he is in a very bad situation since he cannot summon anything. The blonde takes advantage of the opportunity and charges at the MC. Lin Feng jumps back to dodge the attack and thinks that he knows the bone lamp now has an amplifying effect on the undead, so he concludes that as long as he can get the lamp, he might be able to turn the situation around. However, he barely has time to think before he has to dodge another attack. At that moment, the strange power from before awakens again and tells the MC to move back. But the fight continues, and Lin Feng has to dodge yet another attack to avoid being hit. As soon as he gains some distance, something emerges from the ground and startles the blonde, who tries to understand what is happening. A kind of plant lunges at him and attacks, and although he manages to dodge at the last second, he is soon caught by the leg, and the MC does not notice this strange power appearing behind his back, and is also quickly startled when he is grabbed. The plant begins to rise even more from the ground, but the blonde is not intimidated and comments that all of this is just a cheap trick. With that, as he spins his sword, he activates mana infusion and then a swordsmanship skill of extraordinary beauty and charges forward, cutting one of the plant's tentacles. But when he turns around, he sees the MC running away and, for some reason, recalls a certain person as he watches the MC fleeing. Then he starts thinking about his past, when Guladeosa was telling him to abort the current mission and stop chasing the guy. At the time, he was intrigued and told his master that the man who was fleeing was a noble who was part of their plan, and that if he did not eliminate him at that moment, once the man attracted the repair team, he would do the same anyway. However, Guladeosa wanted to know if the blonde was daring to question his decision. Faced with his master's monstrous power, he fell to his knees, and while trying to resist such crushing pressure, Guladeosa told him to follow his mark, as it would lead him to find and eliminate the man he was pursuing. Upon receiving his master's mark, the blonde said he understood and that he would try to do everything possible. After remembering that and seeing the plant coming at him, he conjures his flames, and wonders if the power he is seeing is from the farm from before. With that, he launches his attack and a huge explosion occurs. Then, the blonde calls the MC a traitor, and as he prepares to go after him, makes it clear that trying to run away will not be so easy this time. Thus, he starts chasing the MC, but soon has to dodge several simultaneous attacks from the strange power. However, that is not enough to stop him from continuing after Lin Feng, and as he gets close, he leaps to grab him. The blonde laughs, grabs his sword, and says it is over. Lin Feng laughs and agrees with his opponent, then takes out the nature lamp, but is soon startled to realize that a necromancer's mana is not enough to activate the bone lamp. On the verge of being eliminated, he shouts that he does not care about that and asks the lamp to light up. As he channels his spiritual farmer power into it, the lamp begins to react, which worries the blonde. At that moment, a powerful energy bursts around Lin Feng's farm, and several plants and trees rapidly grow around, quickly restraining the MC's opponent. The blonde becomes nervous as he is being trapped by nature-type magic, but by exerting more strength, he manages to free himself and then activates his master's mark. Now the blonde has borrowed a portion of his master's power and once again charges at the MC. Lin Feng releases even more of his nature-type power, and a summon appears. It is He Xiao, with a completely different appearance than usual. As soon as the blonde gets closer, the summon unleashes its tremendous power. A clash of abilities occurs. An immense power echoes throughout the area, but due to the overwhelming strength of the MC's summon, it completely shatters the blonde's sword and quickly prepares again. The blonde is shocked upon realizing that the new summon is actually He Xiao. Lin Feng orders his summon to end this once and for all. He Xiao charges forward, grabs the blonde's head, and without any mercy, completely eliminates him. Very exhausted, the MC falls to the ground, then lies down and thinks he has reached his limit, and soon after, faints, and He Xiao watches him and the nature lamp. Then, the MC's summon takes a deep breath and returns to its undead form. Elsewhere, far away, a caravan is marching. Inside the carriage, two men are talking, until at a certain point in the conversation, one of them finds something strange and looks out the carriage window to see what is happening. A strange nature-type power appears, surprising everyone, and this power enters the carriage and soon leaves. The red-haired man cannot believe what just happened, until one of the soldiers goes to him to ask if something is wrong, but he remains intrigued and thoughtful, saying nothing. Back at the MC's farm, the energy that went to the escorted carriage appears there. One of the men who was inside the carriage is brought to the MC's farm. The old man looks around and senses a powerful, pure nature magic. One man comments that it is hard to imagine such power was hidden in a place like this. Another emphasizes that if he could have such pure nature magic, he would even accept being appointed as the dean of the nature department. Then another man comments that, judging by the surroundings, it seems there was a battle with the demon clan. The old man approaches the MC and sees the nature lamp beside him. He then becomes serious and says it makes sense now, since what they are seeing around them is a reaction caused by the forced activation of the nature lamp. With that, he kneels down and begins trying to heal the MC. Meanwhile, Lin Feng is in a completely different place, wondering if he is inside his own consciousness. As he looks at a core, he realizes that everything around it feels gentle and soft, and that it might be his own power. Then he looks to the other side and sees another core, and as he tries to touch it, he wonders if it could be the necromancer power, but he is soon repelled by the core, which leaves him quite intrigued, trying to understand what is happening and whether the necromancer power is actually not under his control. At that moment, something begins to happen in the core, and it starts taking shape, and suddenly, He Xiao appears, and the MC asks if he did not die. He Xiao replies that he did die, but makes it clear that thanks to the MC, he was able to understand the true meaning of death. With that, he begins to release a strange energy and advances toward Lin Feng. Then he grabs him, and the MC starts shouting, saying he cannot break free. He Xiao laughs and says he will eliminate him to take his body, and that when that moment comes, he will be reborn once again. However, something strikes He Xiao's back, and he turns around angrily, asking who dares to interrupt him. A strange plant tentacle appears and strikes his back again, and without stopping, keeps attacking He Xiao, who is soon forced to drop the MC to the ground to defend himself. He becomes furious upon realizing that what is attacking him is a type of nature power. Then, he grabs Lin Feng again and slams him hard onto the ground, and something happens to both of the MC's powers, causing them to separate for a few moments. But it does not take long before they come back together. Then Lin Feng slowly opens his eyes and thinks it was close. And since there was little necromancer power, he did not think He Xiao had enough power to go any further. However, he realizes that He Xiao inside his consciousness was hidden within the undead magic, and that he is actually a hidden danger. Then, as he looks to the side, he hears an old man commenting to the others that he checked the MC and that he severely overexerted his mana and suffered slight internal shocks to his organs. And aside from that, it is nothing serious. One of the men notices that the MC has woken up and quickly informs the old man. Another man says that he checked the surroundings and that it is indeed the aura of a high-level member of the demon clan, with strength at least above level 20. Then, they place the MC on a stretcher and say that his surgery was a success. One of the men asks if the MC eliminated a member of the demon clan. He becomes startled when he sees that many people are watching him and waiting for him to say something. So he concludes that the origin of the people there is unknown and that it is better to say less. The old man calls the MC a child and tells him not to be nervous, but he thinks that the nature magic in the MC is indeed far too pure and wonders if he might be the person Vera had mentioned. As soon as they check the clothes and identification information, they ask if Lin Feng is from the Sun Wheel Academy. Then the old man takes something from his clothes and says that everyone there are instructors from the nature department of the Extraordinary Academy. Lin Feng gets off the stretcher, introduces himself, and greets his instructors. At that moment, the rest of the people who were traveling in the carriage arrive at the MC's farm. The red-haired man calls out to Master Seymour and asks what happened there. The old man says that there was an invasion by a member of the demon clan, but fortunately that member was eliminated by the MC from the Sun Wheel Academy. The red-haired man gets excited upon hearing this, goes up to Lin Feng, and emphasizes that true heroes arise from youth. Then, as he turns around, something catches his attention, and while observing the broken sword on the ground, he thinks that it could only have belonged to a certain person. Seymour places his hand on the red-haired man's shoulder and asks if he discovered something. He replies that he did not, and says he was just thinking about how they fight desperately on the front lines to resist the demon clan, but he did not expect that a member of their clan could still infiltrate from the rear. Seymour says that the matter has already been resolved and suggests that they return to the academy first. However, the old man asks one of the instructors to take Lin Feng along as well, as they will need the director to give an explanation. A few hours later, as soon as they arrive at the director's office and recount what happened, he says he is aware of the matter they reported and that the school will strengthen management from now on, and that they will also send 3 additional patrol teams to investigate. Seymour grabs the director by his clothes and says that he only panics when death knocks on his door and that he only looks for a bathroom when he has already soiled himself. Then, he starts shaking the director back and forth and asks what use a director like him is. Lin Feng covers his face so he does not see their little quarrel. The director tells the old man that student Lin Feng is still there and suggests he take it easier. Seymour says that admiring wolf culture is one thing and letting students run free is another, but letting a student eliminate a member of the demon clan is going too far. The director calls Lin Feng and says that he eliminated a member of the demon clan on his own and prevented their potential infiltration sabotage operations. Then he emphasizes that his achievements are significant and that because of this, the academy will reward him with a fragment of the heroic spirit. Lin Feng takes the item, but asks what its use is. The director explains that a fragment of a heroic spirit is the remnant of the will of an ancient hero, and that it seems he has already obtained one of these fragments in a dungeon. With that, he explains that 2 fragments from the same source represent heroic spirits attracting each other and merging, and that this can awaken the projection of a heroic spirit to become his assistant. But the most important thing is that such a heroic spiritual projection has no restrictions. Lin Feng looks at the fragment in his hand and says that the next time he faces a situation where his mana is exhausted, he will have the strength to fight. Thus, he takes the other fragment that was stored in his clothes and merges it with the one he just received. Immediately, a projection of a heroic spirit is created, and this projection kneels and introduces himself, saying that he is General Guan Yu and that he greets his summoner. The director becomes intrigued by the projection he is seeing and soon wonders who he is. Then, he begins to search for information in a book, and when he finds nothing, he becomes even more intrigued, wondering why the heroic spirit that just appeared there is not in the history books. A few hours later, still in the director's office, after the spirit makes some demonstrations, Lin Feng approaches the spirit and orders him to return. Then he goes to the director and Seymour and thanks them both. As he leaves the director's office, the old man calls out to Guo Ding and says he needs to take the MC with him, since the purity of his natural mana is something he has only seen once in his life, and he believes that with some cultivation, he will certainly achieve greatness in the future. The director takes a deep breath and asks Seymour to let Lin Feng choose for himself. Meanwhile, the MC is thoughtful and, remembering the battle he had earlier with the blonde, concludes that he is still very weak, and that when facing truly strong enemies, he knows his methods are limited and his endurance is not enough. So he concludes that he needs to improve his strength as quickly as possible, otherwise he believes he will not even be able to cultivate in peace. Then he remembers that the mission hall has several rewards that are skill scrolls and soon goes there and thinks that the mission rewards are divided into 4 levels, A, B, C, and D, and that for his current self, he knows that the rewards of rank C and D missions are too low. Then he looks at the first mission, where he needs to eliminate the pack of demonized wolves in Eagle Rise Canyon. The threat level is rank B, and the reward is to choose a nature or elemental skill scroll of grade B. The mission requires a team of 5 people with an average level of 15. The second mission is to explore the ruins of the ancient Mage Tower, located below the 3rd floor, and the threat level is rank A. Reward: 3 random fragments of grade A skill scrolls, with the requirement of at least 1 high-level rune master and a team of 4 members. The third mission is to escort supplies to the eastern border of Iron Rock City. The threat level is rank B. Reward: 1 general grade B skill scroll and 100 military merit points. The mission requirement is a team of at least 2 people who must possess certain field survival capabilities and fire-type combat ability. Lin Feng chooses the third mission and reflects that, if he is not mistaken, Iron Rock City is a very important military city, and that he has heard that due to the long presence of troops, they developed a unique military cultivation method and can produce food and medicinal plants efficiently in arid lands and hostile environments. He becomes excited, thinking that if he can learn such a method, things may turn in his favor. However, he remembers that the requirement of the mission he chose is that the team must have at least 2 people, and one of them must possess a fire ability, so he wonders where he will find such a person. At that moment, some people start talking loudly in the mission hall. Lin Feng turns to see what is happening and ends up seeing Ailing. She is furious, saying that it was because the blonde girl made fake potions for her that she attacked her. The blonde girl, in turn, says that Ailing hit a certain person and emphasizes that if she does not compensate with 1 or 2 gold-level items, she will not let it go. The people around comment that it is the same gang as always, and that it is already the 3rd time just that month that they have fought among themselves. Ailing asks the blonde girl to return her bare gallbladder item, but she points out that Ailing already drank the strengthening potion, and that once consumed, it is over. Ailing takes her weapon and prepares for combat. The blonde girl asks if Ailing really has the courage to pick a fight and calls on everyone around to see how irrational she is being. Meanwhile, Lin Feng is paying attention to how this conversation will unfold. At that moment, the blonde girl points at Ailing and asks everyone around to look at her, and says that she entrusted her with making a strengthening potion, but after drinking it, she refuses to acknowledge the debt. With that, she emphasizes that Ailing insists that she diverted her materials. Then the MC appears, saying that the blonde girl diverted money. She observes Lin Feng carefully and then asks if he is from the Sun Wheel Academy, but points out that he can eat without caring about what he sees. However, he cannot speak without caring about what he sees, since she worked very hard. Lin Feng channels a bit of his nature power, and the blonde girl becomes startled, expecting to be attacked. Then, She becomes confused when she sees that Lin Feng did not attack her, but instead he made a cut in the pouch she is carrying, and Ailing's bare gallbladder comes out. The people around comment, upon seeing Ailing's item, that the blonde girl was indeed scamming newcomers. She becomes nervous, points her finger at Ailing, and shouts, saying that this time a senior student from the Sunwheel Academy defended her, but swears that next time she will not be so lucky. However, as she tries to leave, the MC stops her and then asks her to return the bare gallbladder. As soon as he gets the item, the MC asks if it is the same bare gallbladder from last time. Ailing answers yes, and says she was saving it for him, but after losing to him last time, she felt a bit reluctant and thought about turning the item into a potion to improve herself. Lin Feng throws the item to her and makes it clear that he had said he gave it to her, since the improvement from the bare gallbladder for him is not as great as he imagined. Ailing becomes happy and thanks the MC for his generosity. He says she does not need to be grateful, but if she still really wants to thank him, she should help him find someone who has fire-type ability. However, the MC comments that if he is not mistaken, she is fire-type, and asks if he is correct. She answers yes. Thus, Lin Feng becomes excited, thinking that in the end, it did not take long to find someone to do the mission. Then he goes to the mission staff and requests the mission he had chosen earlier. The staff hand over his mission items and ask both of them to keep them safe. Lin Feng watches the item he just received and thinks about the planting method, since upon completing the mission, he will obtain a skill scroll. Later, at the residence of Count Iron Lion, in the secret chamber, the Count is informing someone that his two nephews, Haru and Tuka, were eliminated. With that, he reports that the Academy's police team carefully suppressed the news and that at the moment, they have not discovered who the culprit is. The person the Count is talking to asks if he called him just to inform him of that. The Count clenches his fist tightly and emphasizes that the person he is talking to promised that as long as he provided information about the frontline defenses and covered up his infiltration, he would support him in taking that position. Then he becomes nervous and says that now, because of the defeat in the war, he has already been demoted from Duke to Count because of that old thing. Then he emphasizes that his military power was destroyed, his fief was reduced by half, and at the moment he could not even protect his two nephews. So he asks where the help that was promised to him is. The mysterious person makes it clear to the Count that the situation on the battlefield is quite unstable and that they also suffered losses. But regarding the deaths of the Count's nephews, he thinks that it is their incompetence, since if the Count had sacrificed Haru and Tuka together according to the initial plan, he asks whether things would have reached this point. The Count tries to argue something, but the person he is talking to raises his hand, interrupting him, and the Count becomes frightened. Then the mysterious person emphasizes that Gladiusa only wants results. The Count says that since he opened the back door for them on the battlefield, that old thing has been watching him, so he asks how else they expect him to help. The Shadow makes it clear that this problem is the Count's and tells him not to forget it. Then he gets very close to him and emphasizes that the group from the Nature Department cannot save him. The Count is left speechless, thinking that he is in a very problematic situation. The creature turns around and leaves, saying that if the Count continues trying to rely on the power of the Nature Department to break the curse, it will only cause him to be eliminated faster. He says that and leaves. The Count, quite frightened, thinks that they have a project in Iron Rock Town and that he needs to remember to transfer the garrison when the time comes. The very next day, on the mountain road to the city of Iron Rock Town, Lin Feng is traveling with Ailing to carry out his mission when something catches Ailing's attention, and as soon as she turns around, she sees a huge shadow wolf right behind them. She does not feel intimidated, grabs her weapon and charges at the beast. It does not take long, and Ailing easily defeats the shadow wolf. However, she finds something strange and comments to the MC that she thinks something is wrong, since it is already the third creature they have eliminated in less than an hour. Lin Feng asks why she thinks that. Ailing explains that Iron Rock Town is an important military center and that there are regular troops for clearing and patrol in the area. Having said that, she emphasizes that under normal circumstances, in an area close to the main road like the one they are on, even demonic wolves, much less large wild beasts, are rare. But at the moment, Since they entered that mountainous area, they have already encountered 3 waves of attacks, which is very abnormal. Lin Feng crouches down, placing his hand on the ground, and activates his power to see if he can discover something. Then he stands up and says that the plants around did not detect any anomaly, but points out that regardless of that, they need to pick up the pace and try to reach the outskirts of Iron Rock Town before it gets dark. Having said that, both set off at full speed. A few hours later, on the outskirts of the city, Lin Feng is quite surprised, wondering if what he is seeing are the suspended terraces, because if so, he thinks it is truly something spectacular and that he will take care of the planting method. But Ailing asks him to wait a moment and comments that the surroundings are too quiet, since this is an important military center. Therefore, Ailing asks Lin Feng to prepare for combat, and that they will need to advance cautiously. As they walk a bit further, they pass through an alley and come across an armed man lying on the ground. Lin Feng touches the man and realizes that he is dead, and as they walk a little more, they see several soldiers lying on the ground. Ailing is intrigued, wondering how this could be happening, since in Iron Rock Town, there is a garrison of 3,000 men and a defensive formation, until she is surprised by something. As she is seeing some creatures from the demon clan around a type of altar, Lin Feng does not like this at all, and while they watch from a distance, the demon clan creatures begin to do something at the altar. Ailing comments that she thinks they are setting up some kind of magical formation and that she cannot let them finish. So she emphasizes that she will distract them for the MC to take the opportunity to destroy the altar. Lin Feng places his hand on her shoulder and says that the creatures ahead are all members of the demon clan and are around level 35, so he asks how she plans to distract them. Ailing becomes thoughtful about it, until the MC turns upon noticing some attacks coming from behind. He quickly pulls Ailing so they are not hit, and as they take shelter in a corner, the creature's attacks collide with the ground and a huge explosion occurs. Then more members of the demon clan appear and shout that there are humans there and that they must eliminate them. One of the creatures kneels and launches several attacks. Lin Feng grabs Ailing by the arm and immediately runs with her so they are not hit by the attacks, until Ailing becomes quite frightened when she sees an attack approaching them. Lin Feng looks back, releases her, and steps in front of the attack, blocking it with his power, then asks Ailing if she is okay. She is impressed by his courage, but soon they are attacked and thrown away. The members of the demon clan approach them. Ailing grabs her weapon and channels her flames into it, but becomes intrigued when she sees that her power has disappeared. Lin Feng observes his power as well, and comments that apparently the mana there cannot be channeled, and fears that the formation they saw earlier probably has a mana sealing effect. And upon taking the fragment of the heroic spirit, he realizes that he is also unable to perform summons of that type. At that moment, one of the demon clan members asks if the MC likes their anti-magic formation, since only demonic energy can be used there. Having said that, they begin to move even closer to Ailing and Lin Feng. The MC reflects that, strictly speaking, he knows that undead magic does not belong to the conventional magic system, but even so, the evil is there. However, if he uses his undead magic, he thinks he will definitely be exposed, and that, because of that, the only option left is to flee, until Ailing calls out to the MC and says that she will hold back as many demon clan creatures as possible, and that he should take the chance to escape and head east to Changfeng Fortress to ask for help. Lin Feng asks if she is really willing to sacrifice herself. Ailing clenches her fist tightly and replies that someone needs to return and report what is happening there in Iron Rock Town, besides that she lost to him in the last battle, and because of that, cannot let him look down on her again. Having said that, she grabs her weapons and shouts for the MC to go quickly. He watches her for a moment, and then goes behind her and strikes a blow to the back of her neck. This way, she begins to lose consciousness and ends up fainting. The demon clan members ask if the MC had the courage to betray his own teammate just to have a chance to save his own life. Lin Feng places Ailing on the ground in a safe spot and explains that with what he did, he will not need to worry about her seeing him act. Having said that, he looks at the creatures and laughs. One of the demon clan members comments that elimination is very close, so he asks why he is still smiling. Lin Feng goes to his bag and takes out the lamp of nature The Demon Clan creatures ask how the MC dares to use the lamp of nature in front of them. Then they launch several attacks that rush straight toward Lin Feng, but when he uses the power of the lamp, the energy of nature completely repels the attacks. Then, the lamp of nature begins to react differently and ends up transforming into the bone lamp. Lin Feng laughs and soon summons the executioner Xavius. The Demon Clan members launch more attacks. However, Xavius easily dissipates all of them. One of the creatures asks what is happening. Since the attacks with undead energy were completely dissipated, the MC makes it clear that the hunt has begun. Having said that, he calls the rest of his summons into battle, and the Demon Clan members group together for the confrontation. Xavius wastes no time and launches an attack with his scythe, eliminating one of the creatures very easily. However, a type of mage from the Demon Clan members appears and comments that he did not expect there to be a summoner who would not be affected by the anti-magic field. Then, while transforming, he points out that summoners themselves are not strong, and that if those summons try to resist, he will personally finish off the summoner. Having said that, he activates his power and summons some warriors, who immediately rush to attack, and a battle between summons begins. The mage laughs and emphasizes that he knows summoners are truly troublesome, but as long as he eliminates him, the summons will naturally disperse. Therefore, he calls the MC a stupid human and charges forward, saying that they are just giving him power for free. Lin Feng becomes concerned, since he sees the creature in front of him using the Demon Clan combat skill, the soul-shattering fist. The MC blows on his fist, then clenches it tightly and activates the skill of the invincible serious punch of the universe. And as soon as the blows collide, a powerful energy echoes through the area, and the MC tells the creature to withstand his blow that contains 20 years of energy, and a massive explosion occurs due to the impact. Meanwhile, the summons are fighting each other. Lin Feng looks back, and his summons immediately stop fighting and wait for his command. The mage whom the MC was fighting stands up and, observing Lin Feng carefully, asks who he is. However, the MC asks why the Demon Clan is attacking Iron Rock Town. The mage calls Lin Feng a human insect and asks how he dares to interrogate him, because when Lord Guladeusa descends, all of them will become food? The MC becomes serious, thinking that once again, Guladeusa is involved. So he turns around and signals to Xavius. She doesn't understand what he means. Lin Feng comments that she always says she is excellent at interrogations, so he wants to know if she can handle it. She replies that yes, and that it would be an honor. The MC explains that he wants to know their entire plan, the location of their accomplices, and all the details. Xavius says she understands, prepares her massive scythe, and activates her power, which heads toward the Demon Clan mage, who is quickly completely enveloped by Xavius's ability and taken into her dimension. After that, Lin Feng goes to Ailing to see if she is okay, and once he sees that everything is normal, he turns and goes to the altar where the Demon Clan members were gathered. Lin Feng carefully observes the core of power and reflects that, apparently, the natural mana in the surrounding space has been completely repelled. Then he wonders if it might be an anti-magic field. So, he decides to test it and soon brings his hand close to the core. A dark energy begins to react, and the MC becomes intrigued, wondering if it isn't possible to approach this using only physical force. Then he turns, calling one of his summons. Ron goes to his master, and the MC asks him to try to break the anti-magic field core. Ron channels his power, prepares his punch, and strikes the core directly, breaking it into several pieces. At that moment, a strange dark energy begins to react around the fragments of the core, and the anti-magic barrier that surrounded the city of Iron Rock is undone. Lin Feng looks to the side and comments that, apparently, there is no life aura, but thinks he should go back and check first who needs help. So he goes to Ailing and thinks that, aside from some minor internal injuries and previous superficial cuts, she is basically fine. Then Xavius appears with a look of pity. Lin Feng takes a deep breath and calls Xavius, but before asking anything of his summon, he is quite surprised, as something inside his clothes is shining brightly, and when he takes the book he was keeping, he realizes that the strong glow is coming from it, and suddenly, the pages begin to move on their own, and the MC becomes intrigued by what is happening. At that moment, a strange magic circle is created, and a pure energy comes out of the book, which makes the MC even more suspicious. thinking that the book he was keeping suddenly activated on its own. Then he concludes that, after the surrounding mana recovered, the book activated automatically. Lin Feng decides to store the book in his bag, and, upon hearing a noise, thinks it must be coming from the direction of the Demon Clan's battlefield. So, he decides to go there to see what is happening. It doesn't take long for him to arrive, and he is already faced with a chaotic scene. Then he sees a stone in front of him and notices some information on it. After that, he hears several laughs around him. Lin Feng becomes thoughtful, puts on an overcoat, and thinks there are still people there. At that moment, one of the Demon Clan members chases a woman and a little girl. Then the child trips over a stone and falls to the ground. Her mother pulls out a knife to try to protect her. Then, she tells her daughter to run immediately, but ends up being killed. The little girl starts crying upon seeing what happened to her mother. The creature prepares to attack the child as well, but the MC appears, blocking the creature's sword. Then, he summons He Xiao, who quickly eliminates the creature and heads toward the center of the battle. Lin Feng asks the little girl if she is okay. She points to the middle of the battle and says that there are still many people there who need to be saved. The MC places his hand on the little girl's head, smiles, and says that he will save them immediately. With that, he disappears. Meanwhile, in the central square, a commander of the Demon Clan is holding several people hostage and demanding that they hand over an object, saying that if they do what he asks, he will give them a chance to serve his master. A human warrior is among the hostages, but remains quiet, waiting for a chance to act. Then one of the Demon Clan creatures appears, informing that there is a person in a black cloak invading with a group of undead. The commander turns and comments that it is just a necromancer, and there is no need for much fuss, but tells them to keep an eye on the commander who is there among the hostages, as he will go after that necromancer. However, the MC's summons appear, eliminating several Demon Clan creatures at once. The commander shouts for them to eliminate the summons, but He Xiao approaches him and lands a tremendous punch, throwing him hard to the ground. The MC appears, and the Demon Clan creatures begin to look at each other and run away in fear. Lin Feng thinks that it is a good thing the creatures fled, as he is almost out of mana. Then he quickly turns upon hearing a strange noise and, together with his summons, goes to the group of people who were being held hostage. One of the commanders grabs his sword and asks if, by any chance, the MC is a necromancer. Lin Feng thinks that although he is a necromancer, if he answers out loud, it will only make people more afraid. So, he comments that if he says he is not, he wants to know if the commander will believe him. But what he really wants to know is what happened there. One of the soldiers says that the Empire issued an order in which all necromancers are wanted targets. The MC becomes serious and points out that he just saved all of them, and that if he were an enemy, he would have eliminated everyone long ago. The commander looks around, gets nervous, drops his sword, and asks the MC to accompany him for a moment. Lin Feng decides to listen to what the man is saying, and after they walk a bit, the commander explains that those from the Demon Clan appeared out of nowhere and that their objective was the object ahead. The MC becomes intrigued and asks the man to be clearer. The commander explains that the object they are seeing is an anti-demon divine artifact, specially forged by their tactical squad. And while he is about to open the device, he says that the MC will see, but he becomes very startled, commenting that it was clearly there and that there is no way it could have disappeared. Lin Feng crouches down to observe and soon comments that there is no illusion or magic and that, in fact, the object was taken. Then, he senses something strange and shouts for them to wait, and something begins to come out of the bodies of the fallen warriors. The other warriors become frightened, asking what is happening. Then the ground begins to shake, and an energy rises to the sky toward a magic circle. The tremor becomes even stronger, causing the commander of the warriors to fall to the ground. After that, a sinister, dark energy begins to form in front of the MC, who comments that he is feeling a terrifying pressure and that he thinks not even the undead can withstand it, and soon asks what kind of existence is causing all of this. One of the warriors says that he has seen this type of summoning ritual on the battlefield once, and that, because of that, he thinks it can only be Guladiusa, and that he is about to descend. At that moment, something begins to come out of the portal, and, as soon as it fully emerges, it comments that, apparently, one piece is still missing, and wonders if its power is also incomplete, but thinks it is still enough to fully project its power. Lin Feng becomes alert, watching carefully. The strange creature that has just appeared looks to the side and sees the MC standing there observing it. Then it laughs and comments that, so, it is the MC who is there. Lin Feng becomes confused, wondering if the creature knows him. Then the being releases a bit of its power and, laughing, calls the MC a cursed insect and says that it has been a long time. Then he asks how the MC dares to appear in front of him again. Lin Feng watches carefully until he realizes that the being who appeared is Guladiausa, one of the 7 demon kings. Guladiausa clenches his fist and then, while showing the middle finger to the MC, comments that last time he let him escape by accident, but this time he will use his most proud move to completely crush him. Having said that, he prepares his power and unleashes it around them. Both are surrounded by the Demon King's dimension. The soldiers around them are intrigued, trying to understand what the hell is happening, but they know that what they are seeing is Guladiausa's strongest ability, the Duel of Destiny. However, they wonder who he is fighting against, because from afar, it even looks like it is just a boy. And they also know this should not be happening, since Guladiausa's destiny power takes a long time to accumulate with each use. Lin Feng asks where they are, since just moments ago he was in the central square. Guladiausa activates his power, and a system message appears informing that the Duel of Destiny is about to begin, and that, during the challenge, both parties will have all their abilities restricted, being a challenge issued by Guladiausa to Lin Feng. The Demon King tells the MC to fear and tremble, as this is his proudest power, the disc that detaches destiny, and that the roulette will randomly select one of the MC's abilities as the subject of the duel, and the winner will claim all of the loser's destiny. Lin Feng becomes serious, trying to understand what is happening, but decides to ask Guladiausa to explain better. He tells the MC to stay calm, because no matter what is selected, he will crush him with absolute force. The roulette begins to spin, and the MC becomes anxious, thinking about Guladiausa's bizarre ability and questioning whether a human can fight against something like this. The roulette keeps spinning until it stops, and the system announces that the duel has been determined and that the ability to be used will be planting. Guladiausa starts laughing when he sees the duel's theme and emphasizes that, although he is not skilled at planting, with the powerful physique of the demon clan, he believes it is more than enough to handle such inferior work. With that said, he points at the MC and comments that, as a summoner, he probably has never even touched a hoe. Lin Feng crouches and walks toward the Demon King, who immediately asks if he is trembling with fear. The MC removes his hood and says he is holding himself back from laughing too much. Then, he is informed that the duel arena will be generated into an open planting space, and a box is created with several seeds. Guladiausa comments that this will be very simple, so he grabs a handful of seeds and says he only needs to plant them and wait for them to grow. Besides that, he knows he can defeat the MC even with his eyes closed. Lin Feng picks up his tool and says it has been a long time since he felt so excited at the thought that someone wants to compete with him in agriculture. However, he ends up getting surprised as he sees Guladiausa using his power on the seeds and planting them rapidly. The MC becomes serious upon seeing the Demon King's carelessness and thinks that he is destined to lose. 2 hours later, the seeds that Guladiausa planted have already grown and turned into good corn. He watches what he has just done, then turns around and, boasting, comments that apparently he also has talent for planting. Then, something catches his attention. Lin Feng is commenting that a Demon King only managed to match his planting speed even with the body of an ordinary human, which surprises him a lot. But then he laughs and asks if that is all Lin Feng managed to do, because it seems like that is everything he was capable of. The MC crouches down and picks up what he has just planted. At that moment, the system appears informing that the planting has been completed and that the evaluation will begin, based on the plant's vitality, life force, and growth potential. Thus, Guladiausa waits for the result, just like the MC. But it does not take long, and the Demon King cannot believe what he is seeing, as it is announced that Lin Feng has won the duel. Guladiausa becomes furious, saying it is impossible, and that clearly there is no difference between what the MC planted and what he planted. Lin Feng laughs, and then explains that agriculture is not just about putting seeds in the ground and calling it a day. Having said that, he picks up one of the plants he planted and explains that he infused the seeds with nature magic, allowing them to absorb more nutrients from the soil. However, meanwhile, Guladiosa's demonic energy would only cause the seeds to wither. He cannot believe what he is hearing and, as he charges at the MC, says he refuses to accept this and that he will eliminate him with his own hands. Lin Feng asks if Guladiosa does not honor his word and questions what kind of demon king he is. Then, a shadow, very similar to Guladiosa, appears to protect the MC and ends up taking the blow from the real demon king. Lin Feng feels relieved to see that he will not be attacked. At that moment, the system appears informing that the challenge has ended and that the challenger's destiny has been cancelled due to prohibited behavior involving the use of brute force. Guladiosa's body begins to be torn apart and then starts to fragment. After he disappears, a black mark is created on the MC's hand, and he becomes very intrigued, trying to understand what the hell just happened.